Also MGP, I think, especially the model answers I found to be.
So the MGP plus answer writing test series in this year 2023.
MGP is a pretty renowned name now. Over the last few years, it's just been increasing.
Which I had joined at ForumIAS. I have been a part of ForumIAS for a long time.
The means guidance program.
Mentor guidance program.
I was firstly a part of the MGP program during my mains preparation.
ForumIAS.
So MGP?
Good morning, everyone. So today we are going to just have the basic orientation of our ethics course that we are going to start from today. It will be my objective that we will try to finish as much as of the syllabus in approximately between 15 to 18 classes. This course should be useful for all those of you who are appearing for both this year or even the subsequent year. And our objective will be that we should go through each keyword of the syllabus and we should have a comprehensive notes on it with some amount of value addition. So before, how many of you are writing the mains this year in this class? Wonderful. So going ahead, first is a few things that, so everybody has gotten some handouts with you. So those handouts, it is expected that you should also have a notebook up. You try to scribble most of the things on the handout as much as you can. These in the end should be your rough notes before the exam. We will try to have 15, 18 such handouts. And if you're writing the mains this year, you can scribble almost everything here. There is a backside, sometimes you will also get some blank space, you can write that. Apart from that, you can maintain a notebook additionally. The format of the classes will be that we'll be discussing some concepts. We will also be dictating some notes, and also we will be dictating some questions and answers after the discussion is done. All right, so before we begin, let us just first understand one thing, that when the Commission, Union Public Service Commission, brought the so-called pattern change, the real pattern change that happened when 2 general studies papers were replaced with 4 general studies papers. Before that, what had happened is a slight change had already happened. What change had happened? In the prelims examination, there were certain questions where more than one answer was correct. Those were decision-making questions, which were the precursor to ethics. So the Commission openly admitted at that time that these decision-making questions will have more than one questions correct. So, and those questions, and there was more than one questions correct, and they did not have a negative marking. After that, what happened is, it was stopped in the prelims, and then an additional paper 4 was added in the mains examination. Exactly 10 years from now, subsequently. So, if you see the syllabus which is there, we are having 8 topics in the syllabus. So, if you see the syllabus, it was formulated, it is a lot jumbled up. The syllabus, if you see, the first topic is Ethics and Human Interface, which has taken from what is called Moral Philosophy. Paper 2, topics number 2 and 4, if you see, that is Attitude and Emotional Intelligence. They are taken from where? They are taken from Psychology. Then, if you see topic number 3, Aptitude and Foundational Values of Civil Services, topic number 6 and 7. Topic 3, 6 and 7. All of them have been taken from Public Administration. So primarily the syllabus of ethics was derived from 3 places. Right, one, it was taken from philosophy, particularly moral philosophy. The other parts of the syllabus were taken from psychology. And the last one was from public administration and administrative ethics. So these are the 3 sources from which our syllabus has been made. It is also a unique subject. Why? Because if you see from the university level, there is always a department of public administration, there is a department of psychology, there is also a department of philosophy. There is an HOD of philosophy, there is an HOD for the psychology, there is an HOD for public administration. But there is no department of ethics as an academic discipline. If there is a department of ethics, its work will be something very different. It will not be teaching ethics, it will be implementing ethics. All right, it will be implementing ethics. So therefore, your copy will be checked by whom? Now comes the grand conclusion. Is there a professor of ethics? at least in Indian universities, somebody could have a super specialization with respect to ethics, but you professors will always have a major in these subjects. So therefore, when this paper is going to be checked, it is going to be checked by professors or examiners having a wide experience in other subjects, sometimes except ethics, which also tells us few things. And what is that? That our answers have to be simple. They have to be understood by the common man. We have to know the terminologies. We have to know them. But we do not have to write a very jargon-filled answer. We do not have to write a very jargon-filled answers. What sort of answers? Answers have to be written in simple English. That is the key to getting a good score. On the other hand, why I'm saying this is because when this paper was introduced, so because it has the most interdisciplinary syllabus, teachers from all streams started teaching this subject, and almost all faculties who started teaching the subject, they started pushing what subject was their specialization. So if you meet a teacher or a professor or a faculty who's teaching psychology, then he'll focus only on limited topics. Then there will be a teacher who will be public administration, and they will only focus on administrative ethics. And there are teachers who are coming from philosophy, they also started teaching ethics paper. So they would teach only one part. What is the right method? The right method is to have a fair balance. Now coming to the kind of questions that you will be getting. The kind of questions that you will be getting so far, we have seen a broad trend. If you see the kind of questions that we'll be getting, there are 3-4 types of questions. One is the quote-based question. There will be a quotation, quote-based questions. So if you see, this is what you can expect. The quote will be there and bring out what it means to you in your life. That is what is the quote-based question. We'll take them one by one. Then there is a keyword-based question. The keyword-based questions are a dominant theme for the civil UPSC to ask. Most of the times, unless there is an exceptional year, most of the questions will be around the keywords that are given in the syllabus itself. What is the grand folly or the mistake then we can make? The grand mistake that we can make in such conditions is that we have a very keyword-based question paper and then we have not prepared those keywords. Then there is going to be a problem. Now, this was not a problem if you had been following toppers from earlier times where they said that they had done some basic reading. Why? Because that time there was no source not appropriate. But now by the time you have been writing the exam, students as well as teachers have developed very good content. So if you are not very thorough with at least the keywords, then we are jeopardizing our chance of doing well in the ethics paper. These are the easiest. Keyword-based questions are the easiest. Why? Because with a decent preparation, you can score very well. These are the easiest ones. Then there are examples from your life. Recently, they have not been focusing a lot on this. But in the initial years, the questions were a lot give examples from your own life. This, in my opinion, is the toughest kind of questions that are asked. So these example from your life questions, they are the most difficult ones. What is the problem here? Yes, बहुत बार आपका पेन यहाँ stop होगा. And more than that, coaching cannot give you examples from your life. And if we give the example, then what is the problem? Everybody has the same example. Very good. So now you are understanding what is the problem in the exam. So therefore, opinion and application-based question. We'll take all these one by one. Code-based question is something like, be the change you want to see in the world. This is a quotation. I often do this in all the classes and I'll do it in your class. How many of you think you know, without telling me the answer, how many of you think you know who has given this quotation? The quotation that is given. Okay, just keep raising your hands. You know who has said this? Just look around once. Look around yourself. Haath raise karke look around kar do. So you see that what is surprising here is that many people don't know who has said this. That tells us a big thing. That doesn't tell us everything, but that tells us something. All right, who has said this line? Mahatma Gandhi, wonderful. How about this one, the second one? Unexamined life is not worth living. Socrates. Socrates has said this through Plato. Why do we often hear the word Socrates through Plato says? Yes, very good. So there are some students of philosophy, or at least what I'd say keen observers of philosophy. So we know Socrates through Plato because It was Plato who wrote about Socrates in his work. And all that we know Socrates only through Plato. All right? Socrates, and then power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. Who said this? Lord Acton. Now, why I'm saying this is you can say that, sir, we do not know who has said quote 2 or quote 3. It is acceptable, but then do you realize that even when the simple quote comes, that is quote 1. That is quote 1. Do you suddenly realize that a lot of people do not know who has said this? And sometimes what happens is when you get a question like this, a lot of you may write the answer and may not include who has said the quote. For what reason? Because you think that everybody knows. Because you think that everybody knows. So therefore, for the examiner, what happens? For the examiner, if you have not written, then for me, what is my conclusion? You don't know. This is something that you have to fully understand and appreciate. That we do not write that above lines are given by Mahatma Gandhi. If you don't write that, for me, and why you are not writing it? The ones, see, that is the beauty of humanities. The ones who know something, they believe that everybody knows because it is not very complex. Humanities challenge, studying humanities, why do you need a class or a course? Is not because it is so complex that it has to be unraveled by someone. Though it can always be beautified in a class. All right, the challenge in humanities is always organizing things. It is not so much the complexity. Whereas in engineering, maths and sciences, the challenge will not be so much in organizing as it will be in solving difficult questions. Which is why there will be a general level of under-appreciation for humanities and general sense of what you call disdain ki ye to koi bhi kar lega, including myself. ठीक है, ये तो मैं भी करके I'll conquer this. So sometimes because it's so obvious, you sometimes think that it is not worth writing. That is a mistake that we make. If we know something, remember in humanities, the beauty is in writing some things and simplifying things, in writing your answer in the most simple words. And when you see a topper's copy, most of the time, apart from the past 4 years, 3 or 4 years, if you see a topper's copy, you will always find कि इसमें ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं लिखा जो मैं नहीं लिख सकता हूँ. But remember that seeing a copy and drawing conclusions is very different from doing it in exam conditions. A lot of practice will go in doing things in exam conditions. How do we address some questions? So how do we address these questions? We can have a certain framework for addressing these questions. Be the change you want to see in the world. If you have to answer anything like this, what is expected is wonderful. What is expected is few things that you have to know as a framework for answering a quotation-based question, whether it is your essay or ethics or any other subject or a general entrance test for any other place. What you have to do is explain the meaning of what the sentence is saying. Explaining the meaning of what is being said. This is the most important task. Do not, because it is simple English and you think that इसमें समझाने लायक क्या ही है? इसमें समझाने लायक क्या ही है? Be the change you want to see in the world is such a simple quote. So a lot of you will not probably explain the quote and you will jump onto with your theory. You start bombarding the examiner with examples or your arguments. That is not needed. Humanities make it easy for the reader, for the examiner to read your answer, entice him into reading your answer. For that, the first few lines have to be very simple. Then if you have enticed him to read your answer and then you have solved his problem, answer writing is always a process in trust building. Answer writing is a process of trust building. If the examiner, with the first few questions, the examiner, he wants to trust that this person knows the answer or not. Why? Because once he develops the trust, then the copy checking becomes a lot easier. He has, by the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th question, he has almost decided what kind of candidate's copy he's checking. And he has his own biases. Why? Because he's been checking hundreds and thousands of copies. So therefore उसका set होगा कि the one who's not delivering in the by the fourth or fifth question will not deliver in the last question. बाद में कुछ अलग नहीं हो जाएगा. क्लासरूम अभी गर्म है तो लास्ट तक ठंडी नहीं हो जाएगी. Right? The class is warm right now. It's not going to get any cooler at the end. We hope so that it gets cooler. ठीक है. I think कुछ अच्छे air flow भी आ रहा है अभी कुछ. ठीक है. So that has to be understood. So examiner in your test series, the parameters for evaluation will be very objective, which means the examiners will evaluate each question on its own merit. But in the civil services mains examination and particularly paper 4, do not expect that examiner will be checking your all the copy, each question in its own merit will not be there. You have to maintain a minimum quality, minimum content in every answer and do brilliant in some of them, and that is how you will top this exam. While the goal has to be what? That every question is brilliant. That is the ideal situation. Now, ideal does not exist. So what is the sub-ideal situation? All the questions are very good and some questions answers are written in a brilliant manner. That is how you crack a competitive examination. And for which, what do? You prepare certain issues or areas. So if question 5, 6 questions you are coming from there, directly from what you have prepared, then what will happen? You will write something brilliant because you will not have to think a lot. You will write something brilliant and you will get a very good score in that question. That is how a competitive examination works. Second point I want to make here is that see, the variation in ethics score is very high. People have gotten as low as 66, 67 marks to this year. What I know is 147 marks तक तो मैंने देखे हैं. कितने आए हैं? 147 marks तक तो मैंने देखे हैं. The one who has gotten 147 is, however, not made it to the final list for some reason, but 147 तक गए हैं and lowest marks have been very low. Now in ethics paper, there is a certain reason why this variation is there. One is that it is difficult to be extremely objective in ethics while evaluating a paper. See, ethics paper, to some extent, I often try not to use this word because it is a catch-all sort of word, that it is an expression of your personality. When I say a catch-all word means when I don't have anything to say, I can say something like this, and an expression of personality is a very broad term. Everything that you do adds up to your personality, therefore there is no onus on me as to why you should score very good marks in this paper. But generally what is happening is that if there's why the scores are coming low, नीचे score का क्या problem है इसमें? Low score, ये 67 why you will get? There are 2-3 reasons why you will get 67. ठीक है? First reason will be that you don't even know the keywords and you have done a lot of creative writing in keywords which have objective meanings. You have done creative writing in keywords that have very objective meanings. Usually remember, there is a beginner's luck in the mains examination where in your first mains you can get very high marks. That's because you know less and you write creatively. Creativity and innovation has always been rewarded by the commission. Creativity and innovation have always. But if it is seen that in a lot of questions which have certain objective things, जो चीज़ें बहुत objective हैं, उसमें अगर आप लगातार creative and your creativity is not that good, right? There are people who are extremely creative. They write wonderful answers, they write wonderful conclusions, and people who are less creative, the people who are creative generally do not know that they are creative. And the people who are not creative, they always think that they are creative. That will always be a challenge as to how human knowledge and our knowledge about our knowledge is designed. ठीक है, so if you are less creative, हमें लगेगा when we do recruitment हम बोलते हैं what is your biggest strength? I'm very creative. एक कोई फोटो बना कर दे दो, उसके बाद वो बनाएगा, उसके बाद लगेगा कि so creativity is. So therefore now what will happen here is one reason is that you have not addressed even the keywords. So you don't know the keywords. So therefore you don't know what the keyword means and you have tried to beat around the bush a lot. Acha, you have also used a very common technique which is called what is the word? Obfuscation. No. Obfuscate, yes. You have tried to obfuscate, which means that you don't know the answer. So what is our defense mechanism? We try to write in a manner such that we give the appearance that we know the answer. Now, because you don't know the answer, you will also write. Now, if you just see, it's very difficult if you don't know the answer and if you are going to just write in a manner that will obfuscate your answer, which means it will conceal the lack of knowledge. So how will you do that concealment? If you just write 2 lines, the examiner will know that he doesn't know. So now to conceal that you don't know further, you will fill all the 2 pages. क्या होगा, जिस आंसर्स में you don't know, उसमें तो और नीचे में बिल्कुल ऐसे ऐसे करके भरा हुआ होगा. So that you try to convey to the examiner. Examiner देखता है बहुत मेहनत की है तो ठीक है, आधा 1 नंबर 1.5 नंबर he may give to you. Because effort is invariably rewarded in humanities. There is an element of subjectivity. So what happens is that you don't know and now you are trying to obfuscate. The minute you have tried to obfuscate or mislead the examiner. Earlier चलता था पिछले 4-5 साल में too many engineers trying to obfuscate their answer. Therefore it has been negatively rewarded. Because engineers, they have one skill set over the humanities people. It is not the skill set so much as it is their knowledge of their skill set. And that is they know how to use Google well. So therefore once you know how to Google well, what is the feeling that you have? You always have the God feeling or the God syndrome. That because you can Google and find the answer, therefore you know everything. Even if you don't know everything, you have the capability to know everything. Right? This is your advantage over humanities people. Humanities people, they say, मुझे नहीं आता. Excel करने दे दो. कहेंगे मुझे नहीं आता. तुम क्या करोगे? YouTube से वीडियो देखकर कर लोगे और बोलोगे देखो मुझे आता है. Engineering students don't say no to knowing anything. Now it is because of the domination of a lot of engineering students who did a lot of obfuscation in the main answer. So this has already been busted. Now you cannot just write random crap and you will get marks. That will not happen. फिर number आ जाएंगे 67 to 70 marks. That will start happening. So if you don't know the keywords. The second reason why you'll get very less marks, something like this, is because what you have done is you have a misplaced sense of how to crack the competitive examination, especially paper 4. So you try to begin with case studies. Now what happens is when you do with, which is more objective? Abhi sochoge to you will know the answer. Which is more objective? So ethics paper, question paper, everybody has seen. I'm beginning with this assumption that all of you have seen the question. Everybody has seen. नहीं देखा है तो देख कर आएंगे कल. If you have not seen, तो अगले क्लास में question paper देख कर आएंगे. It is having how many parts? 2 parts are there. ठीक है, part A and part B. Part A is theory and part B is case study. Is very good. Now tell me honestly, if you just apply your mind, which is the more subjective part and which is the more objective part? The case studies is more? Is it more subjective or will it be more objective? Compared to part A. It will become more objective compared to part A. Don't see in case studies, don't think that people have made different choices. There is a person, you are an officer, somebody is forcing you to take a bribe or ignore a bribe, what will you do? Don't expect that your answer is, I will not take the bribe, and he has written, I will take. That will not, ऐसा नहीं होगा. उसने भी वही लिखा है, I will not take the bribe, and you will also write, I will not take. There is an old woman, ठीक है. Your variations are not likely to be there as much as you assume. Which is why when we started the paper 4, we started with at least the theoretical parts, because you have to understand why there are very specific questions that are asked in the case studies. So therefore the variation is less likely, which means that averagely you may get nearly the same marks. But it comes to part A where the real difference in score will lie. Now because what happens is ethics does not have at least seemingly does not have a well-defined syllabus, and therefore there is not one single Bible for it. Alright, there is not one single Bible. So it will be my effort in this class that we will try to make it more objective for you. So what happens is you do the case studies first. Now the examiner checks your copy, let's say from question number 1. And what he says is, your Italian handwriting, trying to do case studies in 2 hours, and in the last 50 minutes trying to do all of part A. So if you try to do all of part A in 50 minutes to 1 hour, then what will happen? You will write in a language that will be somewhere between Roman English to Devanagari Hindi. Padhne mein dikkat. So automatically. Second is you are just not addressing the question, you are just writing anything and filling the pages. Also because the topics are such that you have certain fluidity. You can move beyond things, you can say. So what happens is when I'm evaluating a paper and if I see that the first question number 1, 2, 3 are all crappily written, I have a poor impression of you. So even if you delight me in the case studies, the variation will not going to be so much. So if you are worried that why somebody who's otherwise a good student is getting less marks, then what will happen is, first 2-3 questions he has attempted in the last, and sometimes students will begin with, should not be your strategy. You have to make sure that at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions, they are written well. The last questions of part A are done well. Similarly, in the case studies, initial case studies and last case studies have to be done well. It should not be that in case studies it is a decreasing graph. First case studies is brilliant, second is thoda kharab, last tak you have given up. That should not happen. It should not. Why I'm saying that is, dekho, earlier when you used to do that, you would still be awarded marks. There is an element of subjectivity when the examiner in UPSC will check your copy, and if he's generally impressed by you, and then if he discovers that last May, because of paucity of time, he has left the paper, then he is going to, and now because you have not attempted 3 questions. So what will happen? He will try, turn the pages back, adha ek number aapka, baki questions mein he will award it to you. Why? Because you have generally made a good impression. Let's say you have 10 questions, you have attempted only 7. So therefore it is difficult to beat someone who, but your answers are, at least 4 of them are brilliant. Consider another student, he has attempted all 10 and they're, let's say, imagine hypothetically, low quality answers. So therefore the examiner's sympathy are with you. So once he goes to 7th question and says ki 8, 9, 10 are not answered, in the real examination, he will turn the pages back. He will ki chalo ye bachcha acha hai, ise number hum dete hain, ek number, डेढ़ number हम कोशिश करते हैं सारे में बढ़ा दें, so that, because with that evaluation you will never score very high, which is why you will often have friends who will be telling you very happily that मेरे 2 question छूट गए फिर भी मेरे number बहुत अच्छे आ गए. You will often have such things. The people who will leave 1 or 2 questions, but still they will be getting good marks. That will happen in the UPSC examination. That your initial questions and ending questions are done well. Okay. So now let us say, imagine this question, you have something like this, be the change you want to see in the world. How do you break this question apart? There are a few things that you need to keep in mind when you see. One is find out who has said this. That will give you a lot of insight into how this question has to be broken into parts. So you know fairly about Mahatma Gandhi. You can also extrapolate or impose the quote on Mr. Gandhi, and you can make a lot of examples, if at all you know who has said. Secondly, even if you don't know who has said, then you know another thing, that is the context, if at all. From there also, for example, this line was particularly said during the French Revolution, if at all, any context that you know. Or the quotation such as Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. I'm just giving you a general, not just for ethics, a general quote, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. If these lines have been given by whom? Lal Bahadur Shastri, then you have to know who has said and under what context he has said. Then you will be able to open up this quote. You will be able to open up the quote, isn't it? So you know what context they have said. Third is you focus on the keywords. What is the keyword here? The keyword is change. Be the change you want to see in the world. How can you break this question into parts and subparts? The fourth is you analyze the keyword. Identify the keyword and you analyze the keyword. All right, you take it through a framework and then you analyze the keyword. So this quote itself, if we take, then what is it about? The above lines have been sent by whom? They have been said by Mahatma Gandhi. Fifth is you identify and analyze the keyword. Then you also see if there is a counter view. Or if not a counter view, then a comparison. Counter view or a comparison. The tool of, these are tools in studying social sciences. The tool of comparison is there, right? It is a very established tool in studying social sciences. Let us say you know an essay on buffalo, and the question comes, a cow. What do? You choose a very common tool of social science, you will tool but a cow, a study on cow is meaningless without comparing it to a buffalo. And use these very easily available tools of social sciences, which are comparison, the tools of comparison. Isn't it? So you'll compare so broadly. If you see be the change you want to see in the world, let us try to make some points or open this. So these quotes are said by whom? They are said by Mahatma Gandhi. These are said by Mahatma Gandhi. एक दो line उसके बारे में लिख देंगे. Why was he saying these lines in the first place? Why do you think? Now you don't know why he was thinking, but you get that latitude. आपको exactly नहीं पता, but you get that latitude in social sciences. You said that, who was Mahatma Gandhi? In one line, if you have to say, he is the father of the nation and was one of the great men of 20th century. ठीक है, who fought against the mighty British Empire through his twin tools. What were the tools used by Gandhi? हाँ, दो हैं. क्या tools हैं बताओ? Yes, सत्य और अहिंसा. Thereby winning freedom not only for India but the entire South Asia. मतलब दो और कंट्रीज हैं, पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश, तो साथ में उनको भी पैकेज डील मिल गया. Though Bangladesh had to fight its own freedom struggle later. Right, Gandhi, ठीक है, tools on Satya and Ahinsa. Then second line which you can always analyze and says that why did he talk about be the change you want to see in the world? He said this because with his tools he felt that it was the mighty British Empire could only be fought with not violence, because the British Empire had a huge army, arms and arsenal, it was a world power, but what could probably defeat it was non-violence. But the problem is non-violence. If you see about Gandhi, you can also draw a comparison. Okay, what did Gandhi want? Gandhi imagined a world that would be free from violence, from imperialism, from colonialism, and from exploitation. This is the world that he imagined. Be the change you want to see in the world. What change did he want to see in the world? Analyze this. What is the change he wanted to see in the world? You can say world before. What was the world having before? Exploitation. Then imperialism, colonialism. Right? What is the world that he imagined? Imagined world kya tha unka? World free from exploitation. There was freedom, there was liberty, there was equality, there was non-violence, there was peace, no place for war. So this was what his vision was there. This is the world he wanted to usher in. Right? Very simple terms. Is it difficult? It's not difficult. इस पर हमको play करना है बच्चे. That what it is saying, you have to imagine things, that this is the world that existed and this is the world that he wanted to win. But for bringing that world, what was the tool that he suggested? He did not say what was the tool that he suggested for this. The tool that he suggested was this world would not be created by violence or by war, but it was through satyagraha. Now, if you see, when he beckoned people or urged people to undertake satyagraha, he knew that it would not be, if you want to fight the mighty British Empire, built on violence, then what change is needed for the person who's trying to fight it? He must embrace non-violence. He must, if you want a world which is non-violent, what do you want? You must embrace non-violence. So what is recommended is, for oneself, if you want to change the world, you must bring changes in yourself. You have to embrace non-violence. You have to give up exploitation. You have to give up practices such as untouchability. Right? That is the world. That is why he said that if you want to change the world, the change has to come from where? It has to come from ourselves, within ourselves. Once we are able to change ourselves, what will happen? That change in individual. How will the world change? Change will first come within one. When we look within ourselves, अपने अंतःकरण में, then the change will come where? In the individual. From the individual, it will flow to whom? To the family. From the family to the society, and from society to the nation. You'll be able to build the world you want. ऐसे analyze कर सकते हैं इसको. You can also use tools of comparison. You could also compare him to, for example, his contemporary, that is Adolf Hitler. That Adolf Hitler, a contemporary, proper contemporary थे. His contemporary also wanted to change the world. What did Hitler dream of? Hitler dreamt of Greater Germany or Lebensraum. If you know it, you should know from world history, but even if you don't know. So Hitler also wanted a world where the German people would be very happy. What was the tool that Hitler used? Yes, the tool of war and violence. The tool of war and violence. Then can we not say further that Hitler embarked on his tool? Today, Hitler is known as, is remembered, history remembers Hitler poorly. History does not remember Hitler greatly. History remembers Hitler poorly, holding him responsible for some of the worst genocides in the 20th century. And so much so that he's not revered. Despite gaining victory for Germany, he's not revered and respected even in his own country. And Mahatma Gandhi on the side is an apostle of peace and non-violence, not just in South Asia, but also across the world. Can we not say that? All right, so therefore, you can also compare it. See, the thing is, now you have to do your comparisons to suit your conclusion. So he's saying, can we not compare him to Karl Marx and say that violence is the midwife of change? If you want change, then violence has to happen. But here, what are we trying to say? We are trying to justify Gandhi's position. You could, yes, now the question he's asking is, sir, can we not have a counter view? Can we not have a counter view? So therefore, you have to see whether there is a scope of counter view or not. मतलब खिचड़ी भी नहीं करनी है. You can always have 1 or 2 lines of counter view, ठीक है. But the minute you have counter view, then you go for that Hegelian method where you have a counter view, you have a view. Then you have a small counter view, and then there is a conclusion which ends up supporting what? The view and not the counter view. That cannot happen. The conclusion has to, if you say a counter view, immediate U-turn low UPSC, whether it is whatever are the directives, does not matter. You always come with a however. However, you could say, however, Gandhi was criticized that his tools of truth and violence were not rational, but they were orthodox. Were not rational, but were orthodox. He was criticized by whom? He was criticized by nearly everyone. A lot of his contemporaries, apart from the Gandhians, such as Rabindranath Tagore, criticized Subhash Chandra Bose. All these people did have a criticism for him. Gandhi was criticized, and much later Gandhian views were not even embraced by Nehru, who felt that, while he agreed with Gandhi, he felt that non-violence, so Gandhi would end up supporting what? Not keeping an army or village republics. Nehru opposed that view. Nehru simply said that in modern times it is not possible that a nation will be able to protect its boundary without having a strong army. Rabindranath Tagore also gave a counter view. He believed that Gandhi's tools, Congress was simply following Gandhi and it was blind followership. That is what Tagore criticized Gandhi, that Congress's followership of Gandhi was blind and orthodox and was not subject to reason. Okay, so therefore there was an orthodox Gandhi, and in modern times it is difficult to believe that a nation will be able to protect its sovereignty and integrity solely on the tools of non-violence. Then you come to the conclusion, nevertheless, Gandhi has left a great message for general peace and security in the society. And remember, in ethics as well as in any philosophical essay, you always have to focus on one dimension, that is the individual. That is what it means to you. 2 line to is par zarur hona hai. Whether it is a topic in a philosophical topic of essay or whether it is a philosophical topic in or it is in this, it is always have to be individual, that what it means to you. 2 lines apne bare mein likhiye, you write that how it, so therefore the few things that, how does this line, for example, what change you have tried to bring in yourself when you have tried to accomplish an objective. You can write about this. What change you have tried to bring when you have embarked on a journey to achieve a certain objective, isn't it? If you can't bring your own example, you can give other people's example. Okay. See, now the thing is, he's asking where to place those examples. When you are writing, how do examples, where are to be placed? Examples are to be placed when you have written, you have given an argument. Subsequent to that, you can place it. You can also make it different by just putting an example E.G. and something like this. For example, Gandhi called off the Chaudi Chauda movement. Why? Because he felt that the Indian people or the people participating against the empire, they had not brought the change within themselves, and themselves they were indulging in violence. Then how could they fight a violent empire when they themselves have not brought that change? So Gandhi not only spoke but lived what he preached. He not only preached but he practiced what he preached. Right? There was a lot of opposition. Prelims का इतना knowledge है आप लोगों को याद है? Why? What was the reason he called off the Chaudi Chauda movement? Because of it got violent and people were killed. How many? 22 or 4? 2. ठीक है? So this is अच्छा. You can also analyze the word change, put it through a framework in social sciences, and you can always have analyze the word change. इसमें कैसे कैसे कर सकते हो? Change you can analyze it from narrow perspective and wider perspective. Short term and adjectives लगा इसके आगे. Short term and long term. Change can also be what? 2 types. It can be physical or material, or it can be inter-spiritual. Change can also be, और क्या हो सकता है? Yes. Change, very good. It can be internal or external. दो लाइन उस पर भी लिख सकते हैं. When Gandhi talked of change, what sort of change he was talking about? He did not take a narrow view. He rather took a wider view of change. What sort of view? He believed in what sort of change? Physical change or spiritual change? He was talking about spiritual change. What sort of change? Internal change or external change? He was talking of internal change and not external change. And therefore, was it short-term change or long-term change? It was talking about the long-term change, permanent, everlasting change. Right? एक थोड़ा सा change पर analyze कर दिया, different kinds. We also saw this is the tool of typology. एक comparison है, एक typology, किसी भी चीज में. What is the typology? You try to find types of it. What are the various types of change? Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. What are the various types of power? Analyze कर दिया. ऐसे में यूज करेंगे इन टेक्निक्स को. अच्छा, इसको समझना है, इसको रटा नहीं जा सकता बच्चे. मैंने कहा a ship is safe in the harbor. Don't analyze what are the various types of harbors. भी एक दिक्कत है. तो टीचर को संभल के रखना. सर देयर आर बेसिक, उसमें ऐसे में लिखा है कुछ, तुमने एनालाइज कर दिया. ज्योग्राफी के स्टूडेंट डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ हार्बर्स अलग अलग तरह के शिप डायग्राम के साथ बना कर आए हैं. सो इन द एंड वी विल ऑल लुक एट द सेम पिक्चर एंड सी डिफरेंट थिंग्स. हाँ बोलो. बाकी डायमेंशंस तुम्हें देखो. एक चीज और समझो, इन बोथ इन द करंट essay format as well as in philosophical, in the quotes that you get in ethics as well as essay, remember one thing, that in a philosophical essay or in a quote based format, don't make it a khichdi. You don't have to bombard it with arguments. You may be listening to some toppers जो कहेंगे मैंने खूब dimensions देने हैं, लेकिन in the quoted don't just add up just too many dimensions. Don't make it a khichdi. Whenever there is a philosophical concept involved, उसमें आपने social political इतने सारे dimensions दे दिए कि it is not making a sense. And same thing in essay. Don't make that mistake. If you are getting a philosophical topic, if this comes for essay, you simply address, be the change you want to see in this world. You simply address it by asking 4-5 questions. If this question may come in essay, good enough quote to come in essay, you ask 4-5 questions that what does this quote mean in the first place? Then what are the types of, what kind of changes the Mahatma talking about? In this essay, we'll discuss with 4 or 5 questions. What are the various types of change that Mahatma is talking about? Next question you can ask is that how can we bring such change in ourselves and in the wider society? Lastly is, so you ask 3 or 4 questions. How can we bring such changes? And then you address all these questions. These changes can be brought in several ways, and then you elaborate it and make your essay a little more objective. That is what is expected. But if you are going to go for complete social, political, economic, technological, historical, then you have made a khichdi. This was a workable model pre the pattern change that happened 10 years ago when you have 2 essay format. Before that, there was 1 essay format and no space limit. So जो जितने ज़्यादा dimension लिख रहा था उसको number आ रहे थे. You don't have to write less number of dimensions also, but then there has to somewhere you have to draw the line. In philosophical essay you will get less marks if you have written just too many dimensions. कि मैं एक बात कर रहा हूँ उसके पहले in the end I should get a central message from your answer. If there are too many divergent ideas trying to pull in too many directions, then we will be in trouble. ठीक है? Then we will be in trouble. तो ये नहीं करना है. Yes. और कुछ? हाँ. हाँ. Counter भी हमेशा रखना. When you are going to counter Gandhi, don't write from a common man's perspective. Always have an academic counter view. मतलब you cannot criticize Gandhi. Don't come from the modern discourse that is happening or WhatsApp University. Counter has to come from Tagore or you think. हाँ. नहीं, बिल्कुल support. However, you will come back and support that contribution cannot be. While it may be said, for example, Gandhi का criticism होता है कि when Gandhi's larger than life projection, it often marginalizes the contribution of other equally important personalities such as Subhash Chandra Bose or Shahid Bhagat Singh. but his contribution to world peace and non-violence movement cannot be ignored. Okay, so that is how you end up saying things like that. Okay, हाँ बोलो. हाँ. Yes, no, yes, that's what so I'm saying. So there will be cases where you don't know who has said it. And even in this case, you may leave Gandhi and then you may answer in the context of the quote that you say that you can also play a counter view on the change part, and you can also conclude with the change part. You can go ahead. You necessarily does not have to be Gandhi. हाँ बोलो बच्चे. Then you interpret it in what context. In fact, in this quote also, we have said, we know, for example, the next quote that is there, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. How do we interpret this? इसको assignment में लिख कर आना. How do we next class में discuss कर लेंगे. Power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We'll see it in the next class. We'll analyze this. Okay, what does the quote mean to you in current times? Then there is keyword based or direct questions. Now this is one thing that if you are not hitting on this, these are the, जिस साल keyword based question आएगा, score ऊपर चला जाएगा. ठीक है? If keyword based questions are there, which means that if a question is there on, for example, what does happiness or success mean to you? What is emotional intelligence? If the words of the syllabus are appearing in the paper, that is a keyword based. Emotional intelligence, attitude word is appearing in the question paper. Part A. You will expect that the score will go high. See, here is, for example, what are the main components of emotional intelligence? This question, a very theoretical question, has been asked in 2020. Main components of emotional intelligence. Basic principles of city and charter movement and bring out its importance. Laws and rules, discuss the role of ethics in formulating them. Very simple, straightforward question. These are all a part of your syllabus. It is a crime against your own preparation if you are not preparing your keywords. See, in the end, our preparation has to be along what is A, what is given in the syllabus, and B, what has been asked by the commission. Along these lines, we have to, for competitive exams, this is how we will draw the boundary around our preparation. All right. So make sure that you are very clear with the keywords. This, I guarantee you that you will not get any better source than what is being done in the class with respect to all the keywords that are being discussed. We will discuss enough number of ideas that will permanently solve these problems of yours. You will have very good notes on each keyword, and it will be my objective that you are able to write much better answers than your peers or competitors when it comes, especially with these keywords. Also, my expectation from you will be that while these keywords are simple English, okay, while these keywords will always be simple English, you are given a certain framework, you understand it, you may write in your own words, but don't ignore certain aspects of it, because these are core emotional intelligence. While it may be a self-explanatory word, or attitude is a self, but they have a certain theoretical base. So what happens is, over a number of years, when the evaluator is checking the copy, he is reading copies which are very well theoretically grounded in theory. Whereas you are reading the theory, but still you are not incorporating those elements. Then there will be a problem. Then it will also be a wrong answer. If it is asked that what is emotional intelligence, then, and you don't know what is, you are just writing something vague. If there is a question on attitude, and you end up saying attitude is basically, attitude determines altitude, kuch is tarah se, you are writing those things, because that's all you know. The true reason for success in life, these are correct. The true reasons for success are, but you're not telling in online what is an attitude in the first place, which is a proper topic in psychology. Then there will be a problem. Okay? When you have keyword questions, okay, at least you have to know, at least dictionary meaning of the words have to be there. I'm not going to say that you have to memorize the dictionary, but at least you should know कि भाई English में इसका मतलब क्या होता है. Is a word, then at least dictionary level meaning you should be aware of. If that you are not aware of and then you are writing the exam again and again, then there is no point. ऐसा कई बार होता है, you hear a word, you don't know the meaning, you are living with it. Then after a long time you realize that yaar isko, so that do not leave it. We'll be covering these very well. Then we'll have another examples from your life question. अभी थोड़ा कम चल रहा है. So इस पहले समझ लो what is the nature of question that will be asked. Let us take this question. One of the tests of integrity is complete refusal to be compromised. What is the sentence saying? One of the tests of integrity is complete refusal to be compromised. Not partial refusal to be compromised. What is complete refusal to be compromised? Explain with reference to a real life example. Explain with reference to a real life example. Okay? So what does this quotation or this line mean? This line simply means that how do you test the integrity of a person when there is zero compromise, there is zero tolerance towards lack of integrity, or there is zero compromise. There has not been, under no condition the person is willing to make a compromise. Only then you can say that the person has integrity. This is what it is saying. All right. If you see, now these questions will require you to give an example from someone's life or from your own life. ये question थोड़ा सा time killer question होता है, because this part तो you can always explain and address, but when it comes to giving examples, especially from your life, जैसे इसके पहले है, discuss with illustrations, ठीक है? Then narrate one incident in your life when you were faced with such a crisis and how do we resolve it. So you may have suddenly a question that will require you to give an example from your life. तो उसमें एक दो काम जो नहीं करने हैं वो ये है कि ऐसे example मत देना कि once I stole a pencil in school, then I went back, my mother scolded me and I gave it back. ठीक है? या फिर मैं साइकिल से जा रहा था और मैंने किसी को धक्का मार दिया साइकिल सीखते के समय, उसके हाथ पैर जोड़कर माफी मांगी. आप कह सकते हैं, you can also write such examples, but then the thing is that they should not be just the most commonest of things. मतलब you're giving an, see now the thing is that a lot of you may have some professional work experience. So in work experience, the minute you have a work experience, you will automatically have avenues of displaying integrity. But a lot of you people must have just done school, college, and then they have simply come. So those opportunity of displaying integrity may not have arisen. So what do you have to do? You have to imagine also some examples. That itself will be a lack of integrity. अच्छा, ऐसा होगा कि I am unable to remember an example from my life and faking one will be a lack of integrity. Therefore, I leave this question. ये ऑप्शन नहीं रहेगा. वैसे करके देख लेना, क्या पता नंबर मिल जाए. कि writing a fake example like my friends and competitors, where I have none, it will be a lack of integrity. Therefore, I refuse to attempt this question. लिख कर दे दो, पता चले 10 में 10 आ जाए. So therefore, you will have to read enough number of examples or at least expose to a lot of these ideas. Exposure to ideas will help you create examples. All right, exposure to ideas will help you create examples. We'll come up with certain examples in the due course of time. ये questions जो होते हैं, they are time killers. इसी में time खराब होता है. Your pen will stop. Not prepared, ठीक है? Stop the pen आपका होगा. Ethics का paper and essay का paper, there are two papers. So whenever any open test or even MGP test will happen, so I don't go in other papers, but I always go in when essay paper is going or ethics paper is going on. क्या होता है उसमें? People are very passionate when they are writing. तुम देखोगे अभी I will be sitting here and you have an ethics test. Suddenly you will see that some person is smiling and writing. Next question he'll be angry and he'll be writing. ठीक है? तो ऐसे इमोशंस पूरे चेहरे के एक्सप्रेशंस चेंज होते रहते हैं. बिकॉज एथिक्स इज समथिंग दैट वी आर रूटेड इन कन्विक्शन. यू आर वेरी कन्विंस्ड कि यही उत्तर है. इसके अलावा हाउ कैन समबडी डू एनीथिंग एल्स अपार्ट फ्रॉम इट, राइट? सो देयरफॉर यू विल हैव वेरी हाई इमोशंस आल्सो. योर इमोशनल स्टेक इज आल्सो गोइंग टू बी एक्सट्रीमली हाई. सो इन क्वेश्चंस को आगे हम लोग धीरे धीरे सबको डील करना शुरू करेंगे. And then there is opinion or application based question. This is the last type of questions. जैसे कि for example, it is often said that politics and ethics do not go together. What is your opinion in this regard? It is often said that ethics and politics do not go together. What is your opinion in this regard? Now here, what is the expectation with respect to the opinion? Whose opinion is asked? See, remember this thing that while it is said your opinion, you don't give your personal opinion here. चाहे तुम्हें कोई कुछ समझा दे, क्योंकि पर्सनल ओपिनियन में जनता बात सही है, लिखकर बच्चा आ गया, Yes, it is true. बात तो सही है. Ethics and politics don't go together. अपनी ही ओपिनियन लिखकर आगे बहुत खुश हो कि सर मैंने अपनी ओपिनियन लिख दी है, पढ़ने के बाद एग्जामिनर बेहोश हो जाएगा. है ना? What is expected is there are two steps. It is not that your opinion is not asked, but then whose opinion? It is not your. It is I have said it's not your personal opinion, or it is this person who is writing this, whose opinion is asked, is a civil services aspirant who has a diverse reading across subjects such as polity, law, history, geography, economy, and ethics. His opinion is asked. तो बहुत clear है ना? है ना? A very simple question often asked in the interview is, for example, interview में question will be there that do you think that we should encourage campus politics? They are seeing your profile. You are from JNU. That should we encourage campus politics? And you have very personal opinion कि हाँ sir campus politics होना चाहिए. मैं तो युवा नेता हूँ. इलाहाबाद यूनिवर्सिटी के बाद JNU में मेरा दबदबा रहा है. ठीक है, so you have given your personal opinion in the interview that yes, there should be campus politics. Politics is in our shirt, it is in our pant, it is everywhere. So politics is everywhere, so therefore campus politics must be encouraged. This will help us create leaders of tomorrow. You may say that. But if you are extremely vocal and extremely excited about it, why? Because you're coming from a humanities background and from a university where there's a campus politics or lot of politics around your campus. Now the question is that you will say, sir, but it is my opinion and I wanted to show my personality. भर्ती किस चीज़ के लिए हो रही है? ब्यूरोक्रेसी के लिए. ठीक है, सो आई आस्क द सेम कैंडिडेट क्वेश्चन कि इमेजिन दे आर नॉट आस्किंग यू पर्सनली द क्वेश्चन, दे आर आस्किंग द नेक्स्ट एसडीएम ऑफ साउथ दिल्ली इज दिस क्वेश्चन कि बगल में जेएनयू है, नाउ टेल मी देयर शुड बी अ लॉट ऑफ कैंपस पॉलिटिक्स और नॉट. So while you will have tolerance for campus politics, you will say that yes, but there have been certain committees and commissions which recommend how this election, campus politics has to be conducted. It should not be at the cost of educational curriculum or at the cost of conduct of courses, right? बहुत universities में campus politics के नाम पर professors की पिटाई हो जाती है. That should, so therefore it is not your personal opinion. You are very vocal, but the point is that I am looking for the next SDM of South Delhi or the DCP of South Delhi who has to handle this campus politics. That is my recruitment criteria. I am not doing recruitment for my party कार्यकर्ता. पार्टी कार्यकर्ता का इंटरव्यू नहीं दे रहा हूँ ना कि सर युवा नेता कैसे होंगे. So therefore your personal opinion is not asked. What is, even if it is a personal opinion asked, then the person has to be what? A civil service aspirant who has extensive reading in liberal arts, humanities, polity, law, science, economics, geography, history. All these things he is aware of, whose opinion is asked. All right, not just a personal opinion. ठीक है? Or with regard to morality, one view is means is important. The other is ends is important. Which view is more appropriate? All right, just या फिर young people with ethical conduct, not willing to do politics, right? So Official Secrets Act, obstacle to transparency. Official Secrets Act has not been, has it been repealed? It has not been repealed, but it has been overshadowed by what? The Right to Information Act. So Official Secrets Act is often seen as obstacle to RTI. Do you agree with the view? So here your personal views are not asked. We will need the Official Secrets Act at some place. Your personal views are not asked. Achha, remember that your views have to be somewhere fairly balanced. Your views cannot be the views of an activist. What is an activist? हिंदी में क्या वर्ड है? हाँ, या तो आलंकार या फिर उससे भी ज्यादा हो जाएगा कार्यकर्ता. Now the whole meaning changes, which is why in North India you say I'm an activist. तो पुलिस जब ले जाएगी तो क्या कहेगी? ये कार्यकर्ता हैं. वहीं पर तुम्हारा स्टेटस डाउन. And you have been all proudly putting on all social media channels that, ठीक है, what is activism? You are all for activism. Here you are supposed to be part of the machinery that is going to arrest those activists. उसके लिए recruitment है. You are a part of the state. There are certain limitations to what you can do and what you cannot do as a part of the state. Accept those. Yes? Yes. So one question that is being asked is, do you agree? What is the wrong approach here? When a question comes on, do you agree? Do you agree? व्हाट इज द करेक्ट आंसर? यू राइट यस आई अग्री, और उसके बाद अपना साइन वाइन मार के डेट मार के आंसर खत्म। एक अप्रोच ये होता है, ये अंडरस्टैंडिंग मत रखो, पहले लाइन में यस और नो से बिगिन नहीं करना है। रिमेंबर द गोल्डन रूल। व्हाट इज द गोल्डन रूल? राइट डाउन इन योर कॉपी। वी हैव टू अराइव एट द कंक्लूजन एंड नॉट बिगिन विद द कंक्लूजन। अराइव एट द कंक्लूजन, नॉट बिगिन विद द कंक्लूजन। नंबर किसके हैं? यस या नो के नंबर नहीं है। अगर यस या नो नहीं भी लिखा है तो भी नंबर मिलेंगे अगर आर्ग्यूमेंट्स यू हैव रिटन। ठीक है, इफ यू हैव नॉट रिटन यस और नो, हाँ yes, you will argue that Machiavelli in the West and Chanakya in the East have said or created the impression that politics and ethics do not go well together. Then we will try to find out something, some loopholes of Chanakya. That do you? No, you see, first is, सबसे पहले you have to address in this type of questions, your answering pattern will be, do you agree? You will say that why this question is asked in the first place. Why this question is asked in first place, that is your analysis part. कि why it is, ये question क्यों पूछा जा रहा है कि ethics and politics do not go well together. Then you say that it is commonly believed that ethics and politics do not go well together. Why people believe this? You will write 2-3 arguments. What can be the arguments? Great thinkers such as even Kautilya in Arthashastra have talked about demolishing the enemy at whatever cost and has taught about 4 tools, शाम दाम दंड भेद, की जो है लेकिन एनिमी को डिस्ट्रॉय करना एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट है। आगे हम ये क्वेश्चंस करेंगे, दिस क्वेश्चन इटसेल्फ वी विल डू। ठीक है, इसका फॉर्मेट, बट यू डोंट बिगिन विद डू यू अग्री यस और नो, दैट्स नॉट द आंसर। यू फर्स्ट राइट दैट व्हाई पीपल बिलीव इन दैट, then their counter arguments, and then finally you will give your conclusion. You will say that yes, it is possible to be ethical in politics, and then you will say why you believe that. You cannot have a position apart from this. This is ethics paper. In the end, don't end with pessimism, that unfortunately for all practical purposes it is not possible to be ethical in. Then you go back 12 years back or 13 years back now, that about 13 years back in 2010 in the Ram Leela grounds of New Delhi, a movement was born, India against corruption. The leaders of the movement promised never to capture power but only work for fighting corruption in public life. Today those leaders occupy high positions in the government and have captured power in 2 states. जो भी है, हाँ बोलो बच्चे। इसी के लिए पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं। In case we do not remember thinkers and views, you don't remember thinkers and views, at least you will know the arguments ना। ठीक है, we will know the arguments at least. That is what you have to know. So why do people say that it is not possible to be ethical in politics? इस क्वेश्चन को आगे करेंगे। You don't have to know the thinkers, but can you frame your arguments? Yes, you can say कि in day-to-day life we see what? What do we see? We see that it is difficult to remain ethical in politics. Why? Because of, let's say, muscle power, because of the role of money power in politics, ऐसे करके, ठीक है? So these are the things that we'll do with respect to answer writing. So this is the type of questions that we have to understand. ठीक है, now let us begin with, today we'll just do some key concepts. All right? We'll just be doing some key concepts or some keywords that we'll be studying in today's class. केस स्टडीज को केस स्टडीज के क्लास में करेंगे, लास्ट में करेंगे। सम की कॉन्सेप्ट विल स्टडी, ये बना लो बिकॉज इट विल हेल्प यू नेविगेट थ्रू द टॉपिक्स और क्वेश्चंस वी विल डू। सो मेक दिस, है ना, सम all these keywords we will discuss briefly, then in detail we'll be doing it in the coming classes. आज इसको touch upon, we will try to touch upon. All right, and then so dharma, first topic. Everybody has written it down in your copy? What does dharma mean to you? तुम्हारा धर्म क्या है? अच्छा, my expectation from this class will be that when you are coming for this class, don't come with a narrow perspective of preparing just paper 4. We will be discussing ideas that will have wider implications overall in society as well as essay paper. So you will be getting lot of ideas. Never come with a filter in the class. Okay, we will be discussing ideas that will help you in lot of questions and finally in the interview also. इसके लिए बहुत open minded से रखिएगा. So try to make sure that you learn everything that is taught, and it will rescue you in a lot of positions which are otherwise unforeseen, because whatever concepts are being discussed, I am telling you that this is the knowledge that generally is accumulated over a period of a decade or something. ठीक है, so बहुत सारे ideas हैं which are taken from different optionals. So we have to have a very clear-cut understanding of each of these. So don't come only thinking from an ethics perspective. Have a very wider framework of thought. ठीक है, it is a very artificial. See, these disciplines have been created to some extent artificially by us. Otherwise, the mother of all disciplines is what? Yes, philosophy. Earliest, where did it arise? It is said that in ancient, the Western darshan hai, the Western philosophy, it arose in Greece. Why? Because they had a certain amount of prosperity. Only in prosperity you will get philosophical. If you don't have prosperity and you have to fight for your bread and butter, will you be philosophical? No. जैसे है ना कि अभी you are aspirants right now, but those who are selected, कुछ दिन के अंदर they'll start getting philosophical. अब सब मिल गया तो सोचेंगे कि is it worth it? इतना लड़ाई के फायदा था. अभी ऐसे एग्जिस्टेंशियल क्वेश्चंस आएंगे बच्चों के मन में. बहुत बच्चे आते हैं कि सर मेरी IAS भी मिल गया, मुझे लग रहा है होम कैटर भी मिल गया, बट आई एम हैविंग डाउट दैट मतलब वॉज इट वर्थ सो मच, आई लॉस्ट सो मेनी थिंग्स ड्यूरिंग दिस 2 or 3 year जर्नी. ठीक है, वो भी रहता है. एंड देन आफ्टर 1 month, ईश्वर अच्छा है, फाउंडेशन बहुत जल्दी हो गया, 2 महीने के अंदर दे आर कॉल्ड फॉर फाउंडेशन. ये अगर 4 महीने हो जाते हैं ना, तो 2 महीने के बाद लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स विल स्टार्ट पिंगिंग वापस कि सर देर इज एन एम्प्टीनेस, मतलब दिस इज इट. There is a lot of emptiness. I don't have work to do. I don't have a goal in front of me now. तो बहुत empty और hollow लग रहा है, मतलब समझ नहीं आ रहा क्या करूं. मैं सोचता हूं कुछ पढ़ा लूं, कुछ काम कर लूं. That is how generally, just after, क्योंकि you are right now going to be studying like at least 6 to 8, 10 hours every day, and then suddenly you get what you want. Now there is nothing to do. You have the luxury or the prosperity that is needed to get philosophical. So therefore, dharma, if you see, before this, Dharma, what does it mean? Does it mean religion? It does not mean religion. It does not mean religion. What do you understand by religion? What is the basic objective tenets of a religion? Or what is the Western notion of religion? For a religion to exist, what should it have? Yes. Sometimes you may have read or heard that Hinduism is often said is not to be a religion in the Western sense of the word, and it is said that Hinduism is a way of life. Why do we say this? We understand this because the Western understanding of religion is that a Western religion always will have one God, and that God does not have a name. That God does not have a name. It's God. What is the name of the God? Is God. And if I ask you that आज मंगलवार है, you say, sir, I am worshipping God. मैं पूछूंगा किस भगवान की? Then you'll give a name, right? And which is why the West has a difficult time understanding Hinduism. They say worshipping God, and the Hinduism also has a problem understanding the Western sense of religion. Somebody says, oh, I'm worshipping God. What is your natural reaction? Which God? So then he says, God means God, and you say, नहीं कुछ तो नाम होगा, कौन से भगवान? हमारे यहाँ तो नाम होते हैं, right? So Western religion says that there is one God, then will be one holy text or scripture, and there will be a prototyper or an evangelist or a priest. Western notion of religion includes these things. So there is one God, right? There is also one holy scripture. That is why the current debate in the country also sometimes is that there are certain groups which feel that Hinduism lacks unity because it has not been seen as a religion. So therefore there is an effort to make it a religion in the Western sense of the word. Getting my point? Right now there is a feeling among certain sections of the society that Hinduism lacks unity. Why? Because the Hindus do not see themselves as a part of a single group, and therefore they lack unity, and therefore sometimes there will be an effort or a discourse to make it sound like a religion like the Western religions. But Hinduism has never been a religion like the Western religion. What is the holy book? In Christianity you have the Bible, in Islam you have the Holy Quran, right? But for Hindus, what holy book do you have? Tell me one book. Now Gita, it is a very recent trend. Does everybody have Gita at their homes? No. You see, there are enough number of people. So therefore the thing is that there is no one single holy book or a scripture. You could say Vedas, but do you have Vedas in your home? You have not seen how Vedas look like. Okay. My mother has Gayatri Puja and Hanuman Chalisa is there, and she's a very religious Hindu, and she's a very religious person. And some of you may be having Hanuman Chalisa, or you've been probably knowing that. So therefore, what does Hinduism allow you to do? It allows you to worship anyone. You can worship any god and still be a good Hindu or a good religious follower. That is the benefit of you. Does your religion forbid you from worshipping other religious gods? No. Your religion encourages and allows you to worship the gurus of Sikhism also. Nobody, unless somebody stops, you are not going to stop. Okay? It also, when you see a statue of Jesus Christ, you also bow your head like you do, isn't it? There is no disrespect. The problem may often come from the other side, sometimes. Why? Okay? So in Hinduism, you do not have one holy text. There is nothing that you are supposed to compulsorily read. You could be having the Gayatri month, the Bhagavad Gita, or none of it, and still you could be a good Hindu, isn't it? So therefore, there is no concept of one God. How many gods are there in Hinduism? 33 crore. ऐसा सुना है सबने, नाम तो उतने नहीं देखे, but if you go down to the south, you really have a few thousands of gods' images painted on the temples, sculpted on the temples. And in Hinduism, what is there? Do you only worship all these gods? No, you worship even animals, right? You worship even other living beings. Do we not worship other living beings? We worship even other living beings, right? You may worship the Gomata, you may also worship the trees. In fact, if you see in India, somebody worshipping a tree, you are not going to ask that why is he worshipping a tree? You will want to know which tree he is worshipping. कि भाई आज कौन सी पूजा है? कोई सावित्री पूजा, वट सावित्री पूजा है, कि आज बरगद की पूजा होनी है, या कुछ है, right? Why? Because Hinduism is broadly based on certain ideas that where does God reside? Yes, everywhere. Kan kan mein Bhagwan. Right? And not just the animate objects. We also worship what? The inanimate. Right? You will all one day in a year, you will also have Vishwakarma Puja. Somebody has bought a new cycle, he will be worshipping that. Right? Somebody will have, koi naya typist is there, he will be worshipping the typewriter. You will see Tata Motors will close down manufacturing for one day, and they will slow down, and they will do what? Worship all the machinery. Right? So you can worship everything and anything and still be a good religious person. Your religion does not put limitations on you. Do you have a problem? For example, the biggest challenge when missionary had come to India, what is the biggest challenge they felt? They had a huge fear that Hinduism is a way of life, often said to be a way of life. And what it does, it assimilates everything in its own fold. What it does, it will assimilate everything in its own fold. So therefore, it is also criticized on those grounds. For example, when the discovery of the tribal communities happened. So every tribal community will worship certain kinds of gods. So for example, they are worshipping a male god and a female god. What will we say? A male god which is in a tribal community will always be Shiva, or we'll call him Shiva. Or if you see the form, it will be a tribal person, okay, wearing animal skin and will be surrounded by, for example, animals, the Pashupati as you call it. The female goddess will be a symbol of power, and when it is not said to be Hindu, but generally what is called the Aryan invasion sometimes is that what would you say when you see, how do you integrate this tribal population into mainstream Hinduism? You say that you are worshipping this patthar, ye to hamare Shiv hai, ye to Shivling hai, right? And therefore, acha, you are worshipping this not very properly found black colored statue, ye to Devi Kali hai, one of the avatars of Durga. Do you not see? So therefore, the minute they are worshipping, what are you telling them? Ye to hamare hi bhagwan ki puja kar rahe ho, which is why what are you? You are also Hindus. That is what is doing. So therefore, assimilating elements are very high. So which is why when the missionaries would come to India, they had one big problem. The Hindus did not have a trouble not worshipping Jesus Christ. But what was the problem? The Hindus were very happy that a new God has come. Right? Very happy that a new God has come. What is then the problem with the missionaries? They had a problem. They had during the freedom struggle also, they opposed the very public worship of the gods of Christianity. Why? Because Hindus will worship in a certain manner. They will light up an agarbatti, diya lagayega, dhoop, rodi, chandan, doodh aur ye sab ityadi, pani wani se nehla ke kar diya. And everybody will start worshipping. Nobody has a problem. So there is a huge fear that now this person will also this God will also become a god of Hinduism. Usme kisi ne agar aakar keh diya ki Buddha was the 9th incarnation and the 10th is, alag dikkat ho jayegi, right? So therefore there was a very concentrated effort to keep it separate. Keep it separate, because otherwise it may be just assimilated in the wider fold of Hinduism, which is a way of life, right? Which is a way of life. All right, so dharma does not mean religion. Okay? The Western sense of word religion, for that it is not, the Hindi word for it is panth. Ye panth is the word. So India is, commonly we will say Bharat ek dharm nirpeksh desh hai. We are a secular nation, but the correct word is panth nirpeksh. All right, panth means religion in the Western sense of the word. Dharma also, if you see, dharma often is used to mean what? Duty or even righteousness. कि अगर आपने ऐसा नहीं किया, then it will be adharm. ये गलत होगा. You are deviating from the path of righteousness. If you do something wrong, it is said that, which is why dharma also often is equated with what is called satya ka marg. Dharma is also associated with what is called satya ka marg, the path of truth. All right. So dharma means duty. Okay. It is different. There are different kinds of dharmas. Okay. So if you see, often we hear there are two kinds. One is sadharan dharma. Okay. Dharma is of two kinds. One is sadharan dharma. And the other is swadharma. Sadharan dharma and the other is swadharma. What is the difference? See, sadharan dharma accrues. It is ordinarily applicable to all. Sadharan dharma is ordinarily applicable to all. It is the ordinarily and equally applicable to all. Okay. It is the general law. It is the general law. The Indian conception of what is good or what is right is very fluid. It allows you to do a lot of things. Even with respect to religion, when we discussed, do you see that there is a huge flexibility in the Indian, or for example, the majority community, that is Hinduism, religious practices also. So some of you, sometimes you will see that your parents will often they say that, okay, on Tuesdays you should not eat non-veg. And what will happen is when you're staying at home, you will probably follow this dictum. But the minute you leave home and you come to Rajendra Nagar, सारी non-veg party किस दिन करनी है? Tuesday, मंगलवार को करनी है, right? Do you become a bad Hindu because you do that? Difficult. No, you are not a bad Hindu. So what does Hinduism allow you to do? It allows you to, ठीक है? So you could, and you after studying you understand, mom, किस धर्म, किस ग्रंथ में लिखा है कि मंगलवार को अंडा नहीं खाना है? You can't question that. And that is also one of the reasons why when the Supreme Court was hearing the question on essential religious practices, the court said, actually, with respect to the essential religious practice, it said that, you've heard the doctrine of essential religious, आगे करेंगे इसको polity paper 2-3 की class में होगा ये, ठीक है, essential religious practice. So the court said that these practices are not essential to a certain religion, therefore they can be taken away. The court said that these certain practices are not essential for the religion, therefore they can be taken away. But do you see that for a believer or a devoted person, everything is a essential religious practice? My mother thinks that anyone who consumes non-veg on Tuesday is committing adharma and is a irreligious person. And so for a devoted person, everything is an essential religion. And for a person who does not believe in religion or is not so religious, nothing is essential. Somebody says, how do you get nirvana? By taking bath in the Ganges. गंगा नहा लो. अच्छा, गंगा तो है बहुत दूर, तो क्या करो, आपके घर में पूजा होगी कभी देखेंगे तो मिनरल वाटर की बोतल में गंगा जल भग मंगवा लो, तो वो भी कर लिया, एंड उससे भी नहा लो, देन ऑल्सो यू बिकम पवित्र. उसके बाद क्या होता है, एक और वेरिएशन इससे में, अच्छा गंगा जल भी नहीं मिल पाया है तो फिल्टर का पानी निकाल लो और उसी को गंगा जल मान लो. डू यू डू दिस? So therefore there is certain lot of flexibility in doing things. Now if you see, sadharan dharma is general, ordinarily applicable to all, and swadharma is the duty that accrues. Duty accrue karna means accrues by virtue of one's position. Duty that accrues by virtue of one's position. A duty by virtue of one's position, isn't it? Can you think of an example? Several examples. Understand what is by the virtue of one's position. Let's say after this class you are going back home, and what happens is दो लोग आपस में मारपीट कर रहे हैं. So now what do you think? As an ordinary citizen, what is your duty? You may try to stop and try to make peace prevail. ठीक है, जिसमें हो सकता है कि एक आध थप्पड़ आपको भी पड़ जाए. You think that it is your duty to ensure that if something is happening, you interfere and you ensure that the two warring parties they separate as an ordinary person. तो फिर तुमको क्या याद आता है, घर वालों ने क्या सिखा कर भेजा है कि बेटा मेंस देना है, तैयारी पर फोकस करना, समय बर्बाद नहीं करना. तो तुम्हें क्या होता है, ये साधारण धर्म छोड़कर स्वधर्म याद आता है. मैं कौन हूँ? तो मैं हूँ एक स्टूडेंट. तो एक विद्यार्थी का एक अलग. So do you see, the word dharma is often qualified by who you are. So while sadharan dharma is ordinarily applicable to all, it is vidyarthi dharma that will stop you from getting into that brawl and stopping it. What is that kind of dharma? That is your swadharma, by the virtue of your position. That is why you don't get into trying to solve general problems. Why? Because you think कि मेरा पहला धर्म क्या है, पढ़ाई करना है, इन चीज़ों में नहीं पढ़ना है. Right? Another example can you think of? Let us say you have court orders, you are a law enforcement officer and you have court orders. What do those orders say? That this area has to be, there is a slum and this area has to be illegally encroached by certain people has happened. So therefore, right in the middle of the night, you have to remove this encroachment. So you are a law enforcement officer. You have taken opinion of the local administration. Local administration said that if you really want to remove this encroachment, then what is the best time to remove the encroachment? Daylight ऐसे प्रशासन करना है, नाइट के समय में ठीक 12 बजे जब दुनिया सो जाएगी तो 3-4 जेसीबी मशीन से टेंट उखाड़ोगे और सारा सामान ट्रक में डालोगे और रातों रात ये ऑपरेशन कर दोगे. That is how, if you want peace to prevail. But if everybody is awake, then what will happen? stone pelting will happen, law and order will be disturbed. और इंडिया ऐसा जगह है जहाँ पर अगर 200 लोग हैं तो 1,000 लोग देखने के लिए जमा हो जाएंगे कि क्या हो रहा है, वीडियो बनाएंगे, देखेंगे. कुछ लोग कहेंगे हम लाइव हैं यहाँ पर, पीछे ये हो रहा है. आजकल अलग मिलेनियल्स भी आ गए हैं, 2000 के बाद वाले बच्चे. So everything has to be on Reels or Shorts or TikTok. The Prime Minister did a service to the parents by banning TikTok from the country. देश को बचा लिया, उनको लगा एक जनरेशन बच जाएगा. Don't expect that change in any government will lead to unban. That won't happen. पूरा एक जनरेशन बचा लिया प्रधानमंत्री ने टिकटॉक बैन करके, पूरा देश बच गया. नहीं तो आधी दुनिया आज टिकटॉक में ही रहती. इट्स वेरी डिस्टर्बिंग. यू गो ऑन दिल्ली मेट्रो समटाइम, वहीं पर रील बना रहा है, कोई नाच रहा है, कोई कुछ कर रहा है. अलग सीन है देश में, राइट? So now what happens is, now you are very sympathetic to the cause. The law enforcement machinery clearly tells you that this has to be done in the silence of the night when not many people are awake, and it has to be done in quietly. That will reduce the casualties. And it's a court order. So therefore, what is there? One side, there is compassion for the people because it's Delhi winter. If they are rendered homeless, then where will they go? That's one side of it. On the second side of it is, so therefore, otherwise, ordinarily as a citizen, what would be your duty? If the state is taking an action, you will try to protest against such high-handedness of the state. That is the sadharan dharma of a nagarik. A nagarik has to continuously limit the state. And for that, you have fundamental rights given to you. The citizen, remember, one of the duties of a citizen is to always limit the power of the state. And what tool do you use for this? You use the tool of fundamental rights. The whole of constitution is a limitation on the state. The fundamental rights are specific limitations on the state. The whole of the constitution is a limitation. If the constitution was not there, then the prime minister would have been called the king of the country, as a samjho. But now the constitution is there, therefore he becomes the prime minister. Otherwise, if the constitution, in the absence of a constitution, we would not have a prime minister or a president, we would have a king or a queen. All right, depending on which party is ruling. So we'd have a king or a queen. So constitution is an overall limitation on the state, and fundamental rights are specific limitations on the state. Okay? So therefore, as an ordinary citizen, what do you feel? You feel that the state should not, the police should not take such an action in the middle of the night, because you have to be compassionate towards people. And then still, despite knowing everything, what will you do? You will implement the order. Why? Because you realize it is your swadharma, by the virtue of your position. You are a law enforcement officer whose duty is to enforce the orders of the court. So in the battlefield, when Arjun had a dilemma in Mahabharata, Arjun was supposed to fight his own cousins for what? For the kingdom. Basics of Mahabharata, Ramayana, everybody knows. मुझे लगा कोई अच्छी फिल्म आएगी, लेकिन अभी फिल्म आई है ना, उसके डायलॉग्स लगातार आ रहे हैं, रिलीज हो रहे हैं सोशल मीडिया पर, हिम्मत नहीं हो रही है कि जाकर देखूं. So Arjun was supposed to fight whom? His own cousins. For what? For the empire or for the kingdom. So when he's also dejected, he's having those philosophical questions. So sitting on the chariot, when he has his bow and arrow in his hands, he asks this question to Krishna. Arjun asked a question to Krishna. He says that, why should I fight this battle with my own cousins, with my own family? Even if I kill them, who will be lost? I'll be lost. My cousins will be gone. He says, why do I fight this battle? For victory. What does Krishna say? No. Now, Arjun is confounded. If not for victory, then for what? For defeat. Krishna says, no. Then he says, if not for victory, if not for defeat, then for what purpose should I fight this battle? And at this point, Krishna tells him, because it is your dharma to do so. Because it is your dharma. It is what? It is your duty. It is your duty. You are a warrior. All right. It is your duty to do so. So that is your swadharma. All right. ठीक है, एक और वर्ड ले लेते हैं. Next, briefly we'll introduce this. Ethics. What is ethics? See, this word is derived from Greek word. Ethikos. What does it mean? It means character, or it means habit. It means character, or it means habit. Ethics is derived from the Greek word. Why this etymology? Etymology means the knowledge of the source of the words, origin of words. That is known as etymology. Why etymology is so important? It is important because it helps us know where these ideas have come from the first place. So in India, we cannot say that we did not know of ethics because we already had Dharma here. There was a word, there are certain words which will not be a part of your culture. So you will not have those words in the first place. Because if something does not exist in your geography or in your culture, then it is difficult to have a word for it. For example, a lot of people argue that there is no Hindi word for divorce because the idea of divorce did not exist in the Indian subcontinent. So the Hindi or the Sanskrit word for divorce is not. Some people argue that. So therefore, what is the logic that they draw? The logic is that this idea did not exist in the culture here. So therefore, we do not have a equivalent word. Okay? So therefore, etymology, it becomes important. You try to see, so where it would arrive from Greece only, where character and habit. Why? How are these related? These are related because, see, there's a very famous quote in popular culture. It is not what you are underneath. Isko likh lo. It is not what you are underneath. It is not what you are underneath. It is what you do that defines you. कौन सी मूवी का है? कौन सा पार्ट? तेज बच्चे हैं क्लास में. Batman Begins. It is not what you are underneath, but it is what you do that defines you. It has been said by the protagonist in a popular culture. In popular culture, so when you write in UPSC, don't say that in this film, this actor, this hero has said. In this film, Hrithik Roshan said this. ऐसे नहीं लिखेंगे UPSC में. और ऋतिक रोशन तो इस फिल्म में नहीं है. So you always write something in popular culture or in the popular Hollywood film. Batman, the protagonist famously says that it is not what you are underneath, but it is what you do that defines you. So which is why when it comes to ethics, the ethikos has both the meanings, character as well as habit. Why both character as, they are different things, right? But how are they related? Character and habit, how are they related? See, you have actions. सबसे पहले इसका origin ऐसे समझना. What do we have? We have thoughts. All right? These thoughts, ये diagram बना लेना, आगे काम आएगा. एक question classical आता है UPSC में, उसके लिए काम जाएगा. The thoughts lead to what? Actions. Actions over a period of time, what do they become? They become habit. Habit over a time, what does it become? Yes, it becomes your character. Do you see the linkage? Not difficult to, it is very difficult to dissociate your character from your habits or your actions or your thoughts. Right? Our thoughts become our actions. Our actions become habits. Habits decide our character. एक बीच में एक और आता है वैसे तो, अगर करना चाहो तो ऐसे भी कर सकते हो. Define our conduct, and conduct determines our character. ऐसे भी कर सकते हो. Conduct and conduct, repeated conduct will determine our character. You will understand where you have to make this. आगे की क्लास में बताऊंगा कि कहाँ कैसे क्वेश्चन में ये बनाना है. So therefore, somebody says that, sir, he has a very good character, but his habits are bad. He has a very good character, but his actions are bad. Difficult. Your character is not, ethical side of you is not your character which is hidden. The ethical side of you is what is your actions. So they are not divorced from each other. Character and what you do is not separate from each other. All right. Ethics, if you see ethics, if you see as a branch of study, as a study, or as a separate discipline, such as political science or public administration. Public administration, parent discipline क्या है? For public administration, Political science was the parent discipline of public administration. We broadly believe that philosophy is the mother of all disciplines. When I say discipline, it means a subject or a subject of study. So for example, as ethics as a study, it has arisen from what is called moral philosophy. Philosophy के भी 4-5 तरह subjects होते हैं, disciplines होते हैं philosophy के अंदर. As a study, it has arisen from moral philosophy. And as a practice, ethics refers to set of norms or rules that guide our conduct. Set of norms or rules. Or rules that guide our conduct. Set of norms or rules that guide our conduct. Then what is morality? Make a table, write down. Table बनाओ एक copy में. Right, left hand side ethics, right hand side morality. See, in the classes as we proceed, we will differentiate between ethics and morality when the specific question comes. All right, when a specific question comes, then we will say that what is the difference between ethics and morality? Then we will treat them as separate ideas. But for all practical purposes, we will use them interchangeably. Is this clear? Last benches also, for all practical purposes, we will use the words ethics and morality interchangeably. Do not be very rigid with respect to their meaning unless a question is directly asked, differentiating between the two of them. All right, what is morality? Morality is the inner sense of right or wrong. It is our inner sense of right or wrong. Inner sense of right or wrong. It is our internal or inner sense of right or wrong. Where does it arise from? You see, there will be, what is ethics? Ethics is something that is, if you see a set of rules or norms that guide or should guide our behavior. Right? So what will happen is a fight is happening or somebody is in trouble. Then you have two kinds of, one is, and nobody is interfering. The wider society feels that this, or for example, you hear of a woman crying in a house and you know that the man in the house is beating his wife. Right? What does societal ethics require? Societal ethics is overlooking that problem. They feel that the relationship or actions between a man and a woman are not within the purview of the neighbors or the state. So let's say in a house domestic violence is happening. Do you see that society is often reluctant to interfere in that? कि ये किसके बीच का मामला है? पति पत्नी के बीच का मामला है. Even if the husband is a wife beater, society will not be very eager in interfering. And let us say you hear in your neighborhood that there is a couple and the husband is beating his wife. Societal ethics or norms, they will require कि भाई अपने घर का आप देखो, दूसरे के घर में interfere नहीं करना. That may be a societal norm. That within the confines of the house, who is supreme? The household or the male person is the supreme. That may be societal ethics. But still, what do? If you hear the noise coming or somebody beating his wife for a long time, what will you do? Will not be there be inner sense कि भाई ठीक है कोई कुछ नहीं कर रहा, nobody is doing anything, but I should do something. I should do something. And for practical purposes, government also ran a campaign about 15-18 years ago. So I want to ask you, what is the best way if you come to know that domestic violence is happening in a neighborhood? What? Yes, very good. You ring the bell. And then when the door opens, what do? Yes, चाय नहीं मांगो, चीनी मांगो या बोलो एक ग्लास पानी मिलेगा. What is the purpose of doing this? Yes, you ensure, you tell the man on the house that there are people watching you. So you are not going to intrude immediately and become the hero or the savior. वो तो नहीं करना है. Right? और अगर वो करने के चक्कर में पड़े तो दोनों से पिटोगे कि हमारे घर का मामला है. आप कहाँ से आ गए? Right, so the government ran the campaign, which is the biggest campaign against, or the biggest antidote to domestic violence is what? The ring the bell. If domestic violence is happening in any country, any neighborhood, what do? You ring a bell and ask for a glass of water. इसको समझ लो, इतने में काम हो जाएगा, उसके बाद घर में शांति छा जाएगी कुछ देर के लिए कम से कम. All right, but anyway, so what do? You have an inner sense of right or wrong. Your code of conduct or your code of ethics as a law enforcement officer requires you to do what? Enforce the High Court order to remove the slums. Why? Because they are illegal encroachment. And your code of conduct as well as code of ethics says that you must be a professional, unbiased by your own emotions or feelings. So that is what your duty is. But when you go there and you see young, old men and young children sleeping silently, and it is December of Delhi, it is going to be very cold, and if they are rendered homeless, then what will happen? You may sometimes have a feeling that I cannot do this. ये काम मुझसे नहीं होगा. What is the ground for it? It is not it is your inner sense of morality, your inner sense of right or wrong, कि सरकारी order है लेकिन ये गलत है. It is not right. At least we should have some other ways of doing this, but not this, because in Delhi winter, if I take away their tents, then it is likely that under the low temperature, people or children and old people may die. Where is it coming from? Not from established code of ethics, but from inner sense of morality. अब इसको देखना थोड़ा, अभी आगे समझो. So basically it is often said to be what is private ethics. Morality is often said to be private ethics. What is ethics? Ethics is set of rules or norms that govern the society. Rules or norms, set of rules and norms that govern societal behavior. Ethics provides a moral compass. नैतिक compass के लिए क्या कहते हैं उसे? What is the Hindi word for compass? नहीं. The one that shows the direction. अब बोलो सर इंडिया में ये हुआ नहीं. हाँ क्या? छोड़ दो, कठिन वर्ड है, फिर रहने दो. But everybody is understanding what is a compass. The ones where you see north and south, right? It is a moral compass that tells us what is right and what is wrong. All right? It is morality will where it is come from. It arises from within. ये अंदर से ये आवाज आती है. And societal ethics, this is going to arise from, it will be imposed from outside. From where? Usually by society, which is why it is also called societal morality. Ethics is what? Societal morality, or often called public morality. Kabhi kabhi we use the word public morality. कुछ लोग गए हैं इस चक्कर में जेल, पब्लिक मोरालिटी को इस करने में. Why sometimes you will see that public display of affection is sometimes not tolerated in society. Why? Because it goes against public morality. Yes, question करेंगे इस पर कि therefore being ethical, ethics and morality will conflict with each other. होगा आगे, हम लोग देखेंगे अभी just. All right. Then what happens when you violate societal morality or public morality or ethics? Society के ethics को करोगे तो society, how does it respond? Yes, there will be social sanction against you. There is a social sanction against you. तुम जाकर घंटी बजाओगे, उसके बाद बाकी मोहल्ले वाले लोग क्या करेंगे? कोई ताली नहीं बजाएगा तुम्हारे लिए. ये क्या जरूरत थी जाने की? और कुछ दिन अगर ये सब काम किया आसपास के. See, our society has a general level of disdain for an activist. We are in a society where if you generally have any element of activism in you, then society does not respect you as such. ठीक है? It's not. So there is a social sanction which will be, for example, outcast हो जाओगे. or sometimes excommunicated. ये generally Europe का system है, excommunicated. The church will say that this person is not a part of the community any longer, and anybody who interacts with him will face a similar charge, excommunicated. For example, all these people, they were excommunicated right from. Can you think of some people who were excommunicated? Yes, Copernicus, Galileo, and one more person who had written letters to the church. छोटे छोटे letters थे. It was. ठीक है, अगली क्लास में देखेंगे इसको. So social sanction will be there against people who violate. See, what happens is morals when accepted by larger groups. Individual morality. जैसे गांधी जी का सत्याग्रह या सत्य और अहिंसा. Individual morality when adopted by larger groups. Individual morality when adopted by larger groups. And then finally by society at large. Individual morality when adopted and accepted by larger groups. Individual morality when adopted and accepted by whom? By larger groups, and then by society at last. Then what does it become? It becomes ethics. Can you think of an example? Yes, very good. When Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he championed the cause of what? Widow remarriage. Or Raja Mohan Roy, who championed the cause of sati. So they were reporting to whom? Were they conforming with societal ethics? No, they were not. एक चीज याद रखना, all these people, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, they were respected after their life was over. They were respected only in certain elite circles. But ऐसा नहीं था कि Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar used to pass by and people used to respect him. That was not the case. He was respected only in a certain elite group that was educated. Apart from that, जहाँ वो रह रहे थे घर मोहल्ले में complete boycott रहता था उनका. Or even Raja Ram Mohan Roy. They are celebrated today as people who were thought leaders of their time. But in the time in which they lived, they did not have an easy time. ऐसा नहीं था कि जय जयकार हो रही थी. Society में they were completely disdained and not among, barring a few people who were way ahead of their times, they were not there. They faced continuous challenges in the society. Okay, so all these people, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, all these people. So today, so what happened is their individual morality slowly became accepted by larger groups and then by the society. Then it becomes part of ethics. Another example, if you can think from Gandhi. See, Gandhi inherently and very intrinsic believed in Satya and Ahimsa. So did he simply fake it, or was he true believer of Satya and Ahimsa? Very true believer. And when that sense of internal morality, individual morality is very high, what will happen over a period of time? He will champion this cause. He will continuously talk about only one thing, and that is Satya or Ahimsa. Okay? He will be meeting with larger groups, and when these larger groups will adopt Satya and Ahimsa, and finally this will be imbibed by the society. This will be imbibed by the society. So therefore, Ahimsa or non-violence becomes a social value. It becomes a part of societal ethics, isn't it? What is the reason that in our country, picking up arms against the state is not acceptable? Dekho, there are two things that is in our society, in our country. You are not happy with the state. There is one thing which is allowed and one thing which is not allowed. One thing that will not be tolerated in this country is you pick up arms against the state. You pick up arms, let's say he is not happy with the government, he picks up arms against the state, whole family, mohalla and everybody will torture him like anything. And even if he can be neutralized by the state, then also nobody will support him. On the other hand, what is tolerated in our political culture, and the minute he says, we'll say, no, we don't support you picking up arms against the state. Why? Because we say it is not a part of our political culture. But what he does is, he will say that I will hold a Dharma pradarshan. I will jam whole Delhi. पूरी दिल्ली में CP से लेकर पूसा रोड यहाँ से लेकर वहाँ तक. But then the society will have a tolerance for it. The society will have a tolerance for it. Why? Where is that coming from? It is coming from non-violence and Satya, Ahimsa and Satyagrah movement. Why? You remember Royal Naval Ratings. When they, if you remember very well, Quit India movement का समय था. Why Pakistan and India became so different nations? Why they became so different nations? When Royal Naval Ratings Quit India movement was going on, the Royal Naval Ratings, when they protested, so what happened is the Hindu soldiers, they went to the Congress, or the other soldiers, they went to the Congress, and the Muslim soldiers, Muslim Royal Naval Ratings, they went to whom? Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So what did Gandhi say? Gandhi said two things. Why are you protesting? So there were several reasons. They were protesting for poor work and living conditions and promotion prospects, everything. But they also said that we are also now a part of what? What did the army say? We are a part of national movement. We now want to support the Indian National Congress. We want the British to quit. What did Gandhi say? If you are doing it because your work and living conditions are poor, you are wrong. The army has no place in the streets. The army has to be where? It should be in the barracks. And if you are doing it for India's freedom, then you are double wrong. If you are doing it for India's freedom, then you are doubly wrong. Army's place is where? It is in the barracks. Do you see it has such a profound influence in our post-independence history that the message by the political class to the armed forces was very clear that where is the place of army in our culture? It is not in politics, it is not in public life, it is only in the barracks. The army is nothing but an agency of the state or the government, supposed to render only national service when called upon to do so. It does not have, what did Gandhi do with one decision? He refused political space to the army. Why that is so profound and so important? Because Muhammad Ali Jinnah welcomed the Royal Naval Rating saying ki ha, you are protesting against the British and we support you. And what will happen when you support that? Yes, when you will get independence, the military will say that we have a political role to play. If we don't agree to how things are being conducted in this country, so therefore what is our role? Our role is not just armed forces role, but also political role. And so therefore the minute they think that the country, or they allege that the country is not running in the right direction, what they will do? Military coup. 4, 5, 6, 7 साल तक एक president टिकाने के बाद और prime minister military will come. Pakistan has a deep state problem. What is the word? Pakistan में problem है what is known as deep state, which is often called, yes, we often called there is state within state. Okay. It has a deep state problem. There is a state within state. Huh? See, we don't. Oligarchy is the rule of whom? Pakistan has failed to be in good oligarchy also. There are nations which are oligarchies and they do quite well. But Pakistan is not an oligarchy also. If that was also happening, then it would not have the exploitative, or the Pakistan's deep state is multiple actors are there. What is our biggest challenge in negotiating with Pakistan? Why don't we talk to Pakistan? Batao? One reason, tell me. Yes, one line answer is we don't know whom to talk to. We will talk with the Prime Minister. He will say, yes, we are very happy. By the time he will go back, somebody will take his position. So you are not dealing with the legislative. Whereas if somebody is talking to our Prime Minister, what is the benefit? India's Prime Minister, irrespective of current or past. You know that the Indian Prime Minister has the legitimate power and the actual power in the country. If he has made a promise, that promise will be executed. But in Pakistan, what happens? You speak to the elected government, then you speak to the army, then you speak to the ISI, then you speak to the Maulanas who also wield significant power. So you don't know who to talk to, which is why there is no point of talking, which is why if you often see that what is the solution to the India-Pakistan problem or Kashmir problem, it has to do with the nature of the Pakistani state. It does not have to do anything with Kashmir. Once they are able to solve this problem, they'll be able to solve other problems also. Individual morality, larger groups and society, then it becomes ethics. If you see, are we going fast? जिनको fast लग रहा है वो ज़्यादा vocal रहे, no वाले ज़्यादा. If you are thinking that I am going fast, then you थोड़ा सा you can raise your hand. It's not a problem. Last benches, am I going fast? जहाँ fast लगे वहाँ बोलना. This is an advanced batch, which means that most people are preparing for the mains exam. So here the pace is better to be fast. Now there will be a foundation course. उसमें इस समय तक बच्चे परेशान हो जाते हैं. They think that it's going too fast. So which is why those are complete freshers. If you face a trouble, you write to me that we are facing complete trouble in understanding things. Okay. All right. Then with respect to this and ethics, it is sometimes possible. It is sometimes possible to codify ethics. It is sometimes possible to codify ethics. For example, code of ethics for public servants, code of ethics for public servant, code of ethics for example, chartered accountants. There will also be several codified professional code of ethics. Professional code of ethics. Professional code of ethics. Compared to morality, is it easy to codify? It is relatively much more difficult. It is much more difficult to codify morality. How will you codify morality? Code of ethics, a little more easy. What is easiest? Code of conduct. What is easiest? Code of conduct is the easiest one. ठीक है, इसको हम separate last में पढ़ेंगे. Code of conduct is the easiest one. Why do we say this? Easy to, what do you understand by codification? Codification means objectively writing it down. When I say codify means objectively writing it down. So for example, we can have a code of conduct for this class and then we can have a code. इसको बाद में करेंगे, अभी जो जितना बताया उतना समझो. Code of ethics, and yes, it is relatively much more difficult to codify or write it down. Why? Because you see, morality is very subjective in nature. Morality is very subjective in nature. You are an officer and you are saying that it is immoral for me to remove the night shelter of all these people who are homeless. Then what happens? A second friend of yours comes. He is also a part of the squad. You are getting the context? Let us go back to the example where you are given orders to evacuate a public land which has been encroached by people in Delhi winter. Your inner sense of morality is saying that it is immoral. Then you have a friend who's coming, 11-12 baje, he gets down from his vehicle, he says, kya chal raha hai? You say, I think it is immoral to take away their houses at the middle of the night. They will die of cold. I think it is immoral. Now your friend argues that, bhai, the government is planning to come up with a cancer hospital here. The cases in cancer are exploded suddenly. This is Punjab. If the government does not build a hospital, then people are already having to go to Delhi for their treatment. Otherwise, at least if we have a super specialty cancer hospital, not removing these people for that cancer hospital is more immoral than keeping them here. And where is your sense of morality? You are supposed to, if not you, then who will do it? It is a court's order. The judgment has been passed, keeping in mind the interest of everyone. And now, so it is immoral on your part not to obey such and be sympathizer of these people who are illegal land grabbers. Ab tumhara position, damadol. Difficult to codify morality. There cannot be one single moral position here, depending on where you are coming from. And then finally he says, I know you may not sympathize with this. Why? Because I have lost a family member to cancer. So I know why this state or this place or our district needs an advanced cancer treatment facility. Now your position completely vacant. So do you see morality? There are no fixed rules. Code of conduct, very easy to write. An officer on receiving an order from the High Court must implement it or be ready to face action for contempt of court. Very easy to write. कोई दिक्कत ही नहीं है इसमें. This is your code of conduct. कि भाई on receiving a court order, the officer must give a receipt that I have received the court order. And second, what should he do? He should implement the court order without delay. Easy to write. Code of conduct, very easy to write down, objectively write down. But morality, very difficult. There are innumerable arguments will come. All right. So therefore, if you see, code of ethics has to do with what is called, it is said that it has something to do with, code of ethics has to do with the conduct of the person. Code of ethics has to do with the conduct of the person. Or ethics has to do with the conduct of the person. Morality has to do with the, it concerns the character of the person. It concerns the character of the person. Ethics concerns, write down, ethics concerns public life. Ethics concerns public life. Morality concerns the private life. Morality concerns the private life. Can there be a conflict between societal ethics and individual morality? All the time. A lawyer has a dilemma. He knows that his client is not only an accused but also the perpetrator of a crime. He knows that his client is a criminal. But will he, what does his code of ethics say? That he must defend his client at all cost. He must defend his client at all cost. He should not go and tell the judge that he has committed the crime. Against your professional code of ethics. You have to defend whom? Your client. Okay? Wonderful. All right. Let us take one more concept. So difference between ethics and morality. Now question will come on differentiating between the two. आ भी चुका है UPSC में. तो table बना लेंगे. All of you, will you be able to make a table? Differentiate between ethics and morality with examples. 2-3 examples you will write. Yes or no? Yes, sir. Very good. So now the second question will be, we'll do in tomorrow's class when conflict between ethics and morality happens. ठीक है? अभी let us take one more concept which you have already just discussed, religion. इसको understand कर लेते हैं एक बार. ठीक है? So this is the final topic of the class. ठीक है? See, why did man invent religion? Did we discover religion or did we invent religion? Yes. Some people will be offended. But yes, we invented religion. What was the need for inventing religion? So I'll tell you, we'll briefly see the story of our civilization. In the next 5 minutes, I'll try to sum up the whole story of our civilization. How did we arise in the first place? And from where state and law will arise. So how did the earliest human beings, how did they live? Our primary job was hunting and gathering. Hunting and gathering, that is what man humanly do. And what did we do with hunting and gathering? We used to go hunt the resources. The size of the group or this human settlement or this tribe, were we nomadic? When you are doing hunting and gathering, will you settle in a place or will you be nomad? You will be a nomad, which is why we say that Africa is the cradle of civilization from where everyone came, all of us came. All right, so we were hunters and gatherers. What would we do? We would hunt and gather. And we would deplete the natural resources wherever we went. We used to do that in small groups wherever we went. Today we are doing it at the planet level. What are we doing? We are exploiting and reducing, finishing off the resources, natural resources. Abhi planet level pe humne resources apne kar liye. So which is why Elon Musk is planning another planet. कि इसके तो resources में बहुत मारा मारी है, नया planet उसके resource consume करेंगे. Right? Planetary level. Everybody knows Elon Musk. पेपर पढ़ो थोड़ा, अगर ट्विटर देखो, कुछ करो, मतलब आंखें खोली रखो, पता रहेगा. Right? So these hunting and gathering tribes, they would not settle down. Why? Because the resources would get consumed. Once the resources are consumed, you have depleted it. You will have to go to another place or another planet. So you move from there until what happens is, now these groups, these nomadic groups, they have a competition from other animals also. You have discovered a mango tree full of mangoes. You have gone there, but suddenly monkeys have also come. Now monkeys and you are fighting together to get your mangoes. Frankly, you have one advantage over monkeys. What is that? You have a more developed brain for whatever reason, because that brain development, it is said that, see, when we discovered fire for the very first time, before that we are said to be origin from apes. And if you read the newspaper, you will broadly agree to it. So when we first discovered fire, nothing changed. Fire was discovered 3 lakh years ago. Nothing changed after the discovery of Fire. Just like, for example, when do you say, which is why we do not say it was a revolution. But mobile phone, it came, and in 10 years, everything changed. So, but fire discovery did not change anything. The only thing that happened is we knew how to cook or burn meat that would kill the microorganisms. Better nutrition was available, which is why our bodies and our brains grew. Our brains grew to a certain size, making us more intelligent than our other ape brothers and sisters. All right, with this wisdom, so what happened is these hunting and gathering societies, their size would be limited to the largest animal available. If you are having a large mammoth in your area, then the tribe size or the nomadic tribe will increase to 20, 30, 40, 50 people. Why? Because once you hunt a mammoth or an elephant, it will be feast for everyone. Aram se 2-3 din khayenge. But what if you only get rabbits there? Now the minute there is a kill or a deer, the size when somebody has brought a deer, तो जितने लोगों का उसमें हो पाएगा उतनी बड़ी size नहीं, तो fighting will happen, and automatically the tribe size will be reduced on that adjusted. Either it will break or members will kill each other for the food. Everything changed once we discovered. And what would be these tribes? How would they be governed? How would we discover God? What would be the conception of God? How would we do this? So for a tribe to maintain peace, who would become the leader of the tribe? Normally, at first it would be the most physically powerful person. Why? Because with a sword, he would be able to command. He says, if you want to be the leader of the tribe, what do? You fight with me. Then there would be some people in the group who would not be so physically powerful. लेकिन उनका क्या चलता होगा? Which is why you will be disappointed when you meet kings. थोड़े से मोटे से रहेंगे, आराम से रहते रहेंगे, लगेगा भी नहीं कि ये लड़ सकता है, लेकिन राजा बना रहेगा वो. Why? Because कुछ यहाँ से. So what would he do? He would invent something known as religion. Somebody in the group would say that let us make a rule that when people bring a hunt or a kill, they must share this with the other people. अब ये जो छोटा सा है, इससे क्या है, हंटिंग वंटिंग होने वाली है नहीं. तो इसको है फूड की प्रॉब्लम. तो ये कहेगा कि भाई what will be the first rule he will make? The rule he will make कि हंटिंग कोई भी करे, शेयरिंग सब में. वो अपने समय का कार्ल मार्क्स है कि once it is hunted, it belongs to the tribe. वो अपने समय का कार्ल मार्क्स है. अच्छा, जब ये रूल बनाएगा, nobody will follow it, and he also does not have the military might of the sword. लड़के वो implement. What will he say? देखो, this person is not following the rule. Who will punish him? I will not punish him. But who will punish him? God will punish him. He will invent God. Now nobody is aware of God. So what will he do? He will beckon to the forces of nature. He said that somebody will say, well, how do you know that God will punish him? Now he'll invent religion. He will say, कि I was drinking water last night, तभी आसमान से बिजली कड़की, and I saw a goddess appear before me, and she said this to me, that if somebody does not follow this rule, then I will punish him. And that, my dear friends, will be the beginning of the divine rights. How do I know this? Because gods have come and told me, and the goddess not only told me that this is the rule of the tribe, that whoever brings, sharing to sab mein hona hai. And she has told me, and she has given me this right to tell it to all of you. Now what will happen is people will protest. They will say, we don't want to follow this rule. So what will he do? He will invent religion. He'll say, ठीक है, देख लो. Now next time anyone falls sick in the tribe, what does this man say? That it is the punishment of the gods. ठीक है, it is the punishment of the gods. That is how, my dear friends, the earliest forms of religion will be born, which will provide the divine rights or the basic rules for the society. Now, do you see with the invention of religion, what is happening? The whole tribe or community is now afraid. If anything happens, what do you say? ऊपर वाले ने punish किया है, not him, but whole tribe. Right? So therefore, what will happen is suddenly they will start, then what will happen? This man will also say, we must keep the god or goddess happy. What is the one way to do it? वो जो है वहाँ पर एक पत्थर लेते हैं और उसकी पूजा शुरू करते हैं. That is how religion will arise in almost all societies. Which is why the word religion is derived from the word religare. What does it mean? It means to bind. Now this hunting gathering society would go on to live for lakhs of years, approximately 2 lakh or 3 lakh years, until what it finds is agriculture. What does agriculture do? One man finally found that there is a certain kind of grain, and if you cultivate it, and then if you harvest it, and then if you grind it, you can make a powder, and that will help you make bread or cook rice. This discovery was transformational. Not very long ago this happened. The minute agriculture was discovered, what did man give up? His hunting and gathering were still going on. Even today, some people are doing it. But what was happening is agricultural revolution happened. Why? When do we call something a revolution? What is the definition of a revolution? Yes, a revolution is an event, important event in history that brings a fundamental change in society. What is a revolution? Revolution is an important event in history that brings a fundamental change in society. ये सब जो भी बोल रहा हूँ इसको ध्यान से सुनो. बाद में क्या होगा ना, when you have to write mains answer ना, the minute there is a revolution word, then you have to write this something. Knowing is not enough. Writing in the exam is important. ठीक है? So what happened after that? The man, when he did agriculture, earlier his life was very free, but it was not certain. And always man's effort is always towards making life predictable. You are doing these classes just to make your score predictable, right? So man's pursuit always is towards a predictable life. He says hunting gathering mein milega nahi milega, agriculture, which is much more requiring lot of labor. Now when you do agriculture, you will sow, then you will also know that my harvesting time will come. And then the harvesting time comes, so you have your fields. What will happen? Other people will want to steal your harvest. नोट्स बनाओगे तो बहुत सारे दोस्त मिलेंगे कि ये नोट्स मुझे दे दो, जिससे मैं बनाने से मैं कहेंगे, वो कहेंगे मैं तो नहीं करेगा क्लास. अब नोट्स बनने के बाद कहेगा मुझे दे दो. हार्वेस्टिंग के समय बहुत सारे दोस्त मिल जाते हैं. So now his harvest has to be collected. What will happen? Other people will come and say that they will try to steal it. So what will you do? You will first, the minute you start doing cultivation, what will you do? You will first build a fence around your property. The minute you draw a fence around your property saying ye mera field hai, right? You will settle down somewhere and nobody should come. That is where, my dear friends, will be the beginning of the world's first private property, which Karl Marx would say. Later, about thousands of years later, Karl Marx would criticize the birth of private property. But when somebody comes to take away your grains, what do you need? Now you will need a central authority or a protector or a leader of a tribe. So what will the tribal leader do? He will say, you don't have to worry, I will protect your food grains, your cultivation. I will protect your food grains, your cultivation. But then he will say that I will need to raise a force so that if dacoits and looters come, I need to fight them. What will you do? You will be willing to give him a share of your produce. What will the tribal leader offer you in return? Protection. This will be the first, what is called the first social contract between the state and the citizen. This is the birth of the social contract, where the state, this tribal leader in future will become the state, and this farmer will become the citizen of the state over a period of thousands or tens of thousands of years of development in political science. Okay, so this is the first social contract where the leader or the state provides protection in lieu of taxes. All right, so this social contract will happen, and now this leader, if he dies, then what will happen? Everything will crumble or somebody else will take power. So therefore, even if the leader dies, somebody will else replace him. Therefore, this position will become the future state. This will be institutionalized as the future state. So that is how the state and things are born. Anyway, now religion will not stop there. The state, now the leader who is leading the state, he will want to perpetuate his rule. In such a situation, what has to be done? Will he, now think of it, now you have to manage a bigger tribe. Can you do it with having good biceps and a lot of swords? You cannot. You will want religion to come back. You will say that I am the leader of the tribe, not because I'm the strongest, because there is a big challenge. Somebody will challenge you someday. And what is your concern? Your concern is that if he is able to defeat you, you lose power. And if you are able to defeat him, then the tribe has lost its strongest fighter. The tribe will lose or not? The tribe will lose the strongest fighter if you are able to decimate him, and you will need that warrior. So what is the best way to have a bloodless rule? You will have to resort and invent to religion. You will say, I rule not because I'm the strongest, but I rule because I have been ordered or ordained by the kings, the divine rights theory. that the ruler is ordained by the kings and he is the son of God, which is why he will be ruling. All right, so that is what religion will come back. All right, इसको एक दो चीजें अभी इसको ये लास्ट टॉपिक है, इसको करते हैं. See our conception of, so if you see, and that religion, what will it do? How will it help him? It will help him set the first rules of ethics. What will be the first? Today, what is your primary source of rules? It is the constitution. But think of earliest times. Constitution has made religion irrelevant when it comes to ethics. The constitution has made religion irrelevant when it comes to ethics. But before constitution was not there, what was the most primary source of ethics? It will be religion. So religion is the most primitive source of ethics. Why should you follow what the king is saying? Because it is ethical. And who says? Our religion says this. It is the most primitive source of ethics. Religion is the most primitive source of ethics. Religion is based on whom? On God. If you see conceptualization of God, what is the conceptualization of God? God is the generator, operator and destroyer. Who do you call God? Who do you call God? Will you call your friends or anyone God? When do you call someone God? Something that will be able to probably defeat you. So therefore somebody you will not be willing to call anyone God who is less powerful than you. So therefore when the minute we say God, we assume three qualities in him. The qualities of omniscience or omniscient, which means, yes, know everything. Somebody who knows less than you, will you call him God? You will not accept him. Omnipotent, which means all powerful. You won't accept any entity as God, which is, and last is omnipresent. He is everywhere. These are last topic है, focus कर दो थोड़ा. So therefore now, as a ruler or as a state, before the arrival of constitution के बाद, what is the supreme god in the country? The constitution. The prime minister also has to follow the constitution. ठीक है? So therefore the constitution is above. But before that, how do you decide in the society what is good? So that is a primary problem in philosophy, which is known as the Euthyphro problem. Euthyphro problem or Euthyphro dilemma. All right, Euthyphro problem or Euthyphro dilemma. The question primarily here is, what is good? How we know that ये करना है या नहीं करना है? What is good? How we decide that ये करने लायक है या नहीं? Is it a good thing to do or not? So there can be two ways. How you decide something is good in a society? There can be two ways. One is how you decide. There will be certain. One belief will be what God says is good. मतलब जो ईश्वर ने कहा है, जो भगवान ने कहा है, जो वेद पुराण में लिखा हुआ है, that is good. That is what is worth doing. That is what is the final source of final ethics. सबसे अच्छी चीज क्या करने का है? वो जो God भगवान ने कहा है. What is good? The other thing is whatever God says is good. ठीक है? And the other is God says what is good. नहीं, confusion हो जाएगा. इसको ऐसे कर, what God says is good. मतलब भगवान ने जो कहा वो अच्छा है. What does this imply? This will imply God is greater than good. There can be another thing. What can be the another position? Yes, good is what God says. No, this again is, no, it's the same thing. ठीक है? What is it? Here our position is, नहीं. उसको और simplify कर देते हैं. What is good? No, what is good is said by God. व्हाट इज गुड, जो अच्छा है वो भगवान बोल देते हैं. कहने का मतलब जो अच्छा है वो भगवान बोलते हैं. भगवान ने जो बोला सारा गुड नहीं है. व्हाट इज गुड इज सेड बाय गॉड. what God says is good. भगवान ने जो भी बोल दिया वो सारा गुड है. Then who is the superior party here? It is God. In such a case, what happens? Morality becomes dependent on God. It becomes dependent on God or not? This view will be accepted by whom? By religious persons. You will ask your mother, that mother, where it is written, or tell me scientific evidence that on Tuesday we should not eat non-veg. What will she say? बेटा ये सब हमारे धर्म और भगवान ने कहा है, इसको मान लो, साइंटिफिक एविडेंस की जरूरत नहीं है. Why? God is greater than good. Whatever our religion or whatever it says, that itself is good. So therefore religious persons, they believe this. And what is the problem here? What is good is said by God, which means good exists separately from God and becomes greater than good God. समझ में आया ये? What is God? Good कुछ और है और भगवान उसको आपको सिर्फ बता रहे हैं. मतलब he is not creating good. He is simply revealing it to you, which means that now there are two entities which are absolute. One is God and the other is good. Do you see that this is against the conceptualization of God, because God is the absolute. He is the one, there is nothing above God. So do you see that this idea, where there is something which is called morality that is above God, then what does it do? It limits God. Does it limit God or not? It limits God. Will religious people be willing to believe in a limited God? No. So therefore religious people not happy with this position. All right, God is limited, God is not omnipotent. What is the position here? If God is greater than good, then it will lead to what? It will lead to what is called, it will make ethics subjective. Ethics will become subjective. Why? Because it depends on whom? God. भगवान का मूड कैसा है? ठीक है, it makes ethics subjective. Here in this position, what happens? What is the position of ethics? Ethics is objective. God is merely revealing it to you, but God is not creating those good things. God is merely revealing it to you. It makes ethics objective. What does it help? In the end, it helps what? It helps, or it will promote, at least constitution. It will support a constitution. Why will it support a constitution? Because we believe that broadly, no matter what religion you are, what is in a constitutional democracy, what do we believe? What is the supreme highest good? Where is it contained? And if a religious text violates it, then what will happen? Which will prevail? The constitutional law. So if a question comes that what is, so this is Euthyphro's dilemma or Euthyphro's question with respect to God, and this is the challenge here. Religious persons not very happy with this. They will want a religious text with the constitution. In modern times, however, what do we believe? So now that brings us to a great question, that whether ethics is subjective or objective. We'll do it in the next class. All right. So that is all for today. The classes will be held next on TTS, that is Tuesday will be the next class. ठीक है. और कुछ challenges होंगे, you can mail me at ravi@forumias.com. इस वाला मेल को मैं चेक करता हूँ. ठीक है, चलो, thank you class.